Hopefully everything's working. All right, folks, let us know in the chat if we're loud and clear and working. We did have once, I think, where we were going and sound wasn't up. But what's happening, Feast and Friends? Welcome to another Saturday Night Live. I'm excited because, of course, we've got the Dizzle here. His hat's the right way, so he's not in trouble.
It is. I'm not in danger either.
He's not in danger. And we have a special guest tonight, somebody that took time out of his weekend, getting just off work, Mr. Andrew Hayes from Tackle Talk Podcast. How are you, dude?
Hey, good. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, the pleasure's all mine. You're, I think we're going to get right into it. And you're one of the top, I don't know how, I'm really stupid when it comes to podcasts. And
me too.
Oh, yeah, right. So like Rudd, there's a few people I'm trying to think. What's the other one I listen to? Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but there's only a few podcasts I listen to, and I just listen to it in my truck off, I think, Spotify or whatever it is. So How does that rank? Are you like one of the top like fishing podcasts out there, like as rankings or?
Yeah, it's weird. So like the thing with, I guess podcast analytics are they do kind of stink. You like get what you pay for in terms of what you can see. So like, I don't know how many people subscribe on like Apple or Spotify or whatever, but the one thing that you can see on a couple things is like the Apple and Spotify charts, and the category that fishing podcasts are in is called wilderness. And so we're usually like anywhere from top, 15 to 20 in wilderness, but the other ones above us are all hunting. So it's really cool. It'll be like,
wow.
Yeah, it's like us and BTL and some folks kind of hang out around top fishing podcasts, but it's wild. I'm just some dude that sits in my spare bedroom and talks about fishing to nobody.
Amen, and welcome to the party, brother. And actually, I'm not going to be shy to say that I hadn't heard of you until Gramps had you on, because I don't listen to podcasts.
Yeah,
and Gramps is like, oh, he's a good cat. Obviously, you guys talked. I was in the chat that night, and I'm like, oh, I'll listen to some of these. And I forget what the hell the other one is that I listen to. My boys looking for fish. They're kind of hit and miss on it. Yep. Rudd. Oh, Jig Squad. And I feel like there's one other one. But anyway, listening to your stuff, that is the exact vibe. And the reason I kind of gravitated toward continuing to listen to you, because your stuff is very similar to what I do, except podcast format.
Yeah.
So I guess give us your 30-second elevator speech, or however long it needs to be, of like, how did Tackle Talk get started? Where, how did this all come into fruition?
Yeah, so it's kind of like you, right? I spent a lot of time in the truck for work, and back then, this was like, I started a little over 3 years ago, I think. And at the beginning, like it was BTL was on, and Ike were like the two that really had fishing podcasts. I can't grow a beard.
That's all right. But your hair game is on point, so
appreciate it. But there was nothing of what I was looking for. Like I was looking for educational, short format, not like someone that just turns on a microphone and starts blabbering. I want there to be a purpose to me listening. I wanted this like nice 30 to 40 minute commute time frame, and there was just nothing out there. And so I looked around and finally I was like, yeah, you get that sometimes where you're like, maybe I could do this. I'm probably not going to stick with it. It's probably not going to be anything, but I can at least try. And so I did it, and it's like anything else. You know how it goes with YouTube and stuff. You stick with it every week or every couple days or whatever, and consistency builds success. And so as long as you have the drive to stick with it and you don't give up, that's where people like are unsuccessful, is they just give up too early. And so I just stuck with it, and it probably took 6 months probably before people really started listening and the numbers started to climb. But after that, it just kind of grew, and now it's just, you look at, you're the same thing with YouTube. You'll look at like views and stuff, and it's just mind blowing how many people listen. And it's really cool because you get a ton of messages and a ton of people reach out that, they're getting back into fishing, or they're spending more time with their kids, or that kind of stuff. And that's you can't put a price on that. That's the coolest part about doing it.
Yeah, very similar to my story. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier, is when I was listening to your, you don't promote yourself as some pro who knows more than everybody else, or like, listen to me because I do this better than you. And there's definitely some of that in the industry, whether it's, I can't really say podcast, but, TV or YouTube and stuff, you definitely get the feeling from some people who, are either teaching or doing tutorials or, kind of how-to stuff. Like even just regular fishing and reviews that like, listen, this is how you do it. If you don't do it this way, like you're kind of an idiot, but not really. They don't want to say it directly, but they're kind of like, yeah, you're stupid if you don't do this.
Yeah,
So,
they think however they do it is gospel. And that's the
Yeah,
really cool part about fishing is that there's no right or wrong way almost to do anything. And that's what I love. Like I'll tell people, like, listen to my show and then go listen to you and go listen to other people and get more tools in your tool belt and then find out what works best for you. You don't have to like follow one YouTuber or one podcast or whatever and take everything they have as, God's gift to the earth. It's like,
amen,
dude. Different
dude.
opinions.
Amen. Yeah, Randy and I both did MMA. I did it for like 13 years. And the one thing that you get humbled really damn quick, you learn to check your ego at the door. Most people do. Some guys still keep it, but I would say 98% of people check their ego at the door, and somebody's always got something to teach you. It doesn't matter if it's a white belt walking in who's only trained a week. That guy might have a better double leg takedown than me. He wrestled for 10 years and I didn't know it. Or, you can't judge a book by its cover. And yet learning from every sort of avenue that you can, absorb stuff from, I completely agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, be a sponge. Like seek out as many shows and as many people as you can. Tune into pros stuff, right? Some people are like, oh, I don't want to.
Sure. Yeah.
Pros are a bunch of shills for sponsor companies. Like, but they will give you good info every once in a while. You just have to use your brain to decide what to believe and what not to believe and what to put more stock in than others.
Yep. And then I just want to say real quick, Justin becoming a member, thank you. And all the members out there, I talk about stuff that's blown me away. We just, was it last month, Randy, had our 100 member celebration, members only. I have 100 members. People pay to support me on a monthly basis, not counting like donations and all this other stuff that people send me, like just pay on a monthly basis to be part of the Debo fam. So that's pretty damn cool. I appreciate that a lot. So all you members, special hat tip to you. And let me check. Let me bring my calendar up here real quick. Yes. So next Thursday, probably save the date. So Thursday, the 29th, September 29th is my birthday. So I think we're going to have a special members only live on my birthday. Hopefully, Randall, you can make it. And maybe we'll have a fun giveaway that night. Who knows? Speaking about giveaways tonight, what should we do, folks? Let us know in the comments. What do you want to see? Should I just do like a random box of stuff? I don't know. Ask away, tell away. Also ask your questions. I've got some lined up here. I'm trying to make sure I've got everything up and ready. So Justin, thank you. Next, let's see. So how did the podcast get started was my first thing. Second thing, after I've been listening to your stuff, I haven't listened to all your episodes, but looking on your Instagram, I was going back and looking at pictures. You had some pretty damn cool people on the show, man. Like stuff that I would think would be hard to pull off. So my next question is, what has been your favorite episode? And kind of a two-parter, who has been your favorite guest? And these can be broken out because I'm not going to say
it's so tough. Like obviously I have a really soft spot for the Bill Dance episode because that was my childhood in a nutshell, was like getting up in the morning on a weekend morning, turning on Bill Dance Outdoors and watching Bill. And then, the blooper reels and the everything that is, hold on a second.
I echo that, brother. Now you're fishing with Bill Dance today.
Boom, boom, same.
Oh my gosh, dude! I feel like there's some. Okay, so hold on. What's your fit? Oh, I don't want to get into it yet. Never mind. Keep going with the question. I was going to ask you something. And I hope you don't answer the way that 9 out of 10 viewers do. Then Randy's like, "Oh, do we just become best friends because we fished this together?" Oh.
Well, yeah.
We'll see.
Definitely keep it. No, so like I have a soft spot for that episode because that was like the one I really, really wanted to talk to. I wanted to pick his brain. I wanted to have that conversation and give him. It was really fun for me because I just wanted to like have him on. And I wanted to shut up and just let him tell stories. I didn't want to. It just grinds my gears when people like interrupt especially the greats, but anybody that you're having on a show. It's like you're having them on to talk. And so I wanted to ask him about all of those old stories about the first Bassmaster events that they were fishing and how he just kind of trailblazed media for fishing. And we probably wouldn't have this. We probably wouldn't be doing this right now if it wasn't for Bill Dance. Like you wouldn't have fishing media, you wouldn't have podcasts, you wouldn't have a YouTube channel. Like Bill Dance was the reason that fishing went into multimedia stuff. And so that was really cool. And the funny part is that people be like, who do you know, right? How do you get these people? It's like, dude, it's just grinding. It's trying to find somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows
Networking.
Bill Dance's cat, that, like, you know what I mean? It's like you're trying to put together a string of like 30 people to get to the end goal. And it's kind of what I do for a living anyway. I do sales and stuff too. So it's fine. It's what I like to do. It's like the chase. But him, I thought Clun was a lot of fun. And, you know, I think you've actually had on Shan before. Shan was one of my
Shan the man?
Yeah. Shan was one of my very, very early guests on the show that this is, 2 or 3 years ago, probably at this point. And we've had him on for probably 3 or 4 times since then. Having Ned Katie on was really cool. Just talking about the Ned rig and kind of debunking things that I thought about the Ned rig. Obviously, his name is on the package. You think that Ned Katie invented the Ned rig. It's what we've heard. And it's like, that is so far from the truth. And he'll be the first to tell you about that whole history in Kansas and finesse fishing. There have been some really cool ones. I've definitely been lucky. The one we just did with Takuito was a ton of fun.
I haven't listened to that yet.
One of those.
I want to listen to that one.
It's cool. He's a very infectious person. Obviously, his English has gotten so much better over the past, year and a half too. So we've definitely been lucky.
Cool, man. Yeah, dude, a ton of good stories. I'm sorry to jump out there. Have a dog. His name's Stubby, and he tends to get romantic with pillows down here.
Oh, it's that time of night,
when I go live. Only when I go
night.
live, dude. It's the weirdest freaking thing. And I just heard his stuff over there jingling. I went over, and sure enough, he was romancing the pillow.
There you go.
So I had to put a stop to that.
Have some weekend fun.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, we already.
Real quick, Debo.
Yeah.
The one thing I think is really interesting that you just brought up a second ago is the whole Bill Dance thing. You had the people, the Hank Parkers, Babe Winkleman, the other bigger guys that had fishing shows, but you really started looking at, his show, and it's like they threw in the bloopers, they threw in the extra stuff. It wasn't just all fishing. It was him shutting his, rod tip in the tailgate or shoving it in the fan or something like that, which really honestly, yeah, exactly. Trying to throw the battery or hand the battery off to put into the boat, and he goes sailing off the dock. But yeah, really thinking about it, sure, there would be YouTube, but the fishing aspect of it it's right in line with what a lot of people are doing today.
Yeah. Him and the big three, right? We're like Bill Dance, Roland Martin, and Jimmy Houston. We're like, you're three big, I think, in terms of media. And two of those are still on the bucket list I'd like to talk to.
Hank
and Hank, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Babe Winkleman, come on.
Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely. Chest hair and the gold
chains.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Look like Magnum PI.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so let's see. I've got to ask you. This was farther down in the list, but what is your favorite number one way to catch fish? And this, you can even tie it into what's your favorite lure.
Okay, it's a popper, topwater popper. Yeah.
Really? That's not what I thought you were going to say. Okay.
Oh, topwater smallmouth are the reason that I wake up in the morning. Like, that's why when you wake up and you're like, oh, this bed feels really comfortable. It's like, no, but I could go outside and throw a popper and have a smallmouth blow up on it like someone just dropped a bowling ball in the water.
Yes.
Like, that's why I get up.
Because you do a lot of creek fishing, right? Wading and going down the creeks. And I don't get to do much of that. It's not that I wouldn't. I just don't know, like, around here where to go.
Yeah. Moving water is my absolute favorite way to fish for sure.
Okay. The popper and moving water. Wow. Okay.
What did you think I was going to say?
I was hoping you weren't going to say jig. I didn't hear it.
No.
I haven't heard you talk a ton about jigs, but I thought it might be something a little bit more finessier that you might get into and talk about. So,
I mean, obviously, a lot of the finessey stuff that we throw, I think, is more out of necessity than like that it's my favorite thing to do. It's like, I'm not going to lie and say my favorite thing to do is go out and throw a Ned rig around, but that's what we do half the time because you're trying to catch fish. I will say, as far as jig fishing goes, my favorite type of jig fishing is different than most people. Love flipping a jig and just having that fish hammer it on a lay down and setting the hook and trying to send it to the moon. My favorite way to jig fish is like offshore in the middle of the lake, finding some isolated rock or a ledge or something with a big 1 ounce football jig and just what I call bulldozing. Like, you are just pulling. And I'll never forget, I heard I think it was Brian Thrift one time call it counting rocks, and that's what you're doing. You're out offshore just counting rocks. You are pulling
every rock, and
every rock comes over, and it almost becomes a reaction bite because you're trying to dislodge that 1 ounce football jig up and over these big chunk rocks, and when it pops up, sometimes you will just get smoked. And pulling a big like 1 ounce football jig fish out of like 20 foot of water is a ton of fun.
Dude, it's really actually cool that you brought that up, because I was hoping you didn't say, oh, I love jigs. Jig fishing is my favorite. And that's where Randy gets all stubby on me and is like, oh, yeah, me too. It's Saturday night. Ooh, I'm all happy. But the funny thing is all three of us love to fish jigs in a different way. So I've always been like a swim jig guy, swimming a jig around, like even just a Arky head, not like a regular swim jig, because I didn't, for the longest time, I never had any of those, just like a regular jig. Flipping and pitching it around, I would get snagged too much, because I do a ton of bank fishing. So I just got into swimming it, and I gained a lot of confidence that way. And then meeting Randy the past, I don't know, 8 years or whatever, we reconnected. He's a huge finesse, like ball jig, just around like a War Eagle finesse jig type guy. And he's really helped me grow in that, because I'm, flip it around some wood and swim it was my strong thing. But him kicking my tail in days upon days of that really brought light to that. So even you, going a complete different route, fishing those, dragging those bigger, 3/4 ounce or even an ounce, which is insane. Must look like a ping pong ball on the end of that. Dragging that, like you were saying, absorb from everywhere, because you never know. I think you just have a kayak, right? You don't have a boat or anything,
right?
Like
yep, I'm just a kayak guy.
Yeah. Just a kayak. I've got 11-foot John boat, so your kayak's probably bigger than my damn John boat.
Yeah, mine's 10.6. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So close.
Pretty close.
But you don't need a ton of fancy stuff. And like you were saying earlier, you can watch the pros, and we talk about that here, taking what they're doing and mimicking that in your situation. You don't have to have an $80,000 boat. Believe me, if I could afford it, I'd have one. Absolutely. It'd be a ton of fun, but it's not feasible for everybody, and you don't need it. But watch them, learn from them. Oh, he was working a popper on the edge of grass. Maybe I can work it in my creek, in my little pond, whatever, and try to replicate that. So I don't know really where I was going with that, but that's my spiel.
I honestly think the dirty little secret, at least around here, a kayak is going to do you better than an $80,000 boat. Like in terms of getting to better fish, because you can get to places that $80,000 skeeter, whatever, is not going to get to. You can get into smaller waters. The dirty secret around here is that smaller water holds giant fish. And I think because for so long it was just overlooked, like they're these little knee-deep creeks that people drive over every day on their way to work and never think twice about fishing it. They just think it's like some drainage creek where the water runs off the road. It's like, no, if it's probably deeper than a foot in some places, there's going to be fish in there. There's going to be fish in the holes somewhere. So yeah, I think even if I had an $80,000 bass boat sitting around, I would probably use it like maybe once every month, because we also don't have very many good lakes around here.
Yeah. And where are you at?
I'm in Dayton, Ohio. So
Dayton,
yeah, like western central Ohio.
Okay. Yeah. And like Rainey and I go fishing quite a bit, bank stuff, because I don't have a boat or anything. So we would use it that way a lot. But around here, we have a ton of man-made lakes. It's common for me to fish 200 to 1,000 acre, maybe at the most, lakes around here is what we have. And a lot of them are electric or idle only. So it's like, you see these guys in an $80,000 bass boat with a big 250 on the back of it, and they're just idling. Chug, chug, chug. That's all they can do.
On the no wake lakes or electric onlys and stuff. Dude
in his 12-foot John boat with his 3 horsepowers keeping right along with him. It doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter then. So Mr. Carbide, Fudge Stripe is the name. So Fudge Stripe is the name of my green sunfish that
I was very confused.
Backstory. Yeah. I got a test tank. Opened up the test tank, and I'm like, man, this is too boring. We got to get other stuff in here. So had put some wood and stuff in there, some decoration. I'm like, we got to catch fish. So my girls and I went and caught fish, and my daughter named one Chocolate Chip, and my other daughter named the other Fudge Stripe. Fudge Stripe killed Chocolate Chip, and we had a video, and Fudge Stripe it is. So he reigns the king of the king of the cage.
There you go.
But okay, so if you were going out right now, so there's a whole bunch of talk of fall transition and fall's here. Man, I saw the woolly bears crossing the road today driving. To me, that's fall. Like when you start seeing the the big black and orange caterpillars crawling across the road, that's fall to me.
Yeah.
And we are definitely in fall. The leaves are falling. So in your area, I know you're pretty close, I would say, on a map to me, probably a little bit more south. But what are, like, let's say 3 baits right now that have been working for you or that you've got tied on that are going to really be heating up?
Yeah. So first is going to be a spinnerbait. Like spinnerbait, when it gets that first like we just had it 2 days ago, our first big cold front, where it did
Yep.
kind of like shut those fish down a little bit too. But it means we're past the transition, right? We are full on fall mode now. And to me, that is a like double willow spinnerbait. It's not like I'll use big Colorado blades in like the summertime, especially at night. But once, the fall hits, I'm going to a double willow. I just want to mimic that small ball of shad. I want to mimic more than one shad at once, up shallow. And this works in rivers, creeks, lakes, wherever, right? A double willow spinnerbait will get it done. Next, I would say like this is one time a year where I'll actually use a prop bait quite a bit. So like a plopper or like a Chapo or something, one of those kind of things. A couple reasons, right? One is because those fish around here anyway in moving water will go up and sit in like the fastest, nastiest moving water. And they will just sit there because they're in gorge mode. And when they're in gorge mode, they sit at the head of the buffet and they just wait for these bait fish to be washed down. And so they will sit and they'll find like a rock or something to sit behind so they can conserve energy, but they will be right there in like the nastiest flow that you can find. And one of the things, obviously, it's hard to fish those effectively. And so you can float something down, but if you want to like burn through and get that aggressive fish, I'm a big buzzbait guy, but buzzbaits don't do very well in super heavy current because your problem is keeping them to the top of the water column and not having the current sweep them. And so it's one of the things that a plopper actually does really well is it's basically a floating buzzbait. So I'll do that. I would say if I had to pick a third one, spook is tough to beat. I love spooks in the fall too.
Yes.
There's something about that walking motion again that just gets fish. Like I'll start to put away poppers a little bit and move toward a walking bait this time of year. So like a little Hedden came out with the smaller ones 2 years ago. I think the boyos or whatever they called them. The spook. They're like in between a spook and a spook junior. So I'll pick up something like that too and throw shallow. But spinnerbait is king in the fall for me.
Yeah, I think they're kind of a weird shape. I don't have one here. I think they're between like the puppy and the super spook junior.
Yeah,
they're
like they're that
size,
happy medium that we asked for forever, and then they finally made one. They were like,
they're pretty cool.
Yeah,
and it's funny that you say that because today I went out and filmed, so a little bit of
it's kind of blurry, little sexy dog. Is that what that
I know? It's a whole box full of walking baits. So today's video.
Oh yeah.
Today's plan was to do a bunch of walking bait stuff. So
nice.
Okay, good picks. Should we each go through real quick? Randy, how about you? What are your three?
I mean, I'm
jig,
still going
top water jig, and then a smaller jig.
A jig, a swimming jig, and then a burning jig. No, I would say probably a spinnerbait, a jig, and then squirrel. Like I like throwing a square bill, like 1.5, something in that range, a 3 to 5, 3 to 6, somewhere right around there. Those are probably going to be my three.
Mike, good call. Yeah, I like that, Randall. I like that. And Mike, good call. I went with the Do It guys last weekend. We were fishing the Mississippi, and we were just talking about the Rico poppers, the Rico Lobino, whatever. I didn't know Rick Clun had a hand in designing those. I've never used one. I've honestly just kind of stayed away from them because they're expensive and people are like, oh, they're the best. And like, I don't want to get hooked on them and be like, okay, now I need $25 poppers. That
was me. Yeah. I'm full on Rico mode at this point.
Oh gosh.
So good.
I don't even want to touch it. And is it the sound? That's what I've heard from people. It's like, it's got this special sound.
Honestly, for me, it's just the consistency of the motion. Like my problem with a lot of poppers is that you'll get like, if you buy like a Booyah popper, for instance, right? You might get one out of the box that like walks great and does what you want it to. And then you get another one that you will give it that exact same cadence and it goes left, 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 like that kind of stuff. And so it drives me crazy. Those little Ricos, I mean, right out of the box, I've never had one that I didn't feel like I had the most control out of any popper. Like I can chug it and keep it straight if I want. I can walk it easy. They come with obviously like good hardware too, which is nice. I don't have to change out stock hardware. They got super sticky hooks, but yeah, it's just one of those range of motion things for me where I feel super comfortable knowing that what I am trying to get it to do, it will do.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I've talked to other people who are like, dude, it's a pitch thing. Like, I don't know what it is, but the sound is just amazing with them. It's kind of like the Reaction Innovations Vixen. I never had one of the originals, and I'm like, I was late to the game. It's like I ain't spending $80 or whatever the hell these idiots are trying to sell them for on eBay. I finally got one of the repops, but it's like
Yeah.
I think it's a mind game for people. You know, it's like, because the people you ask, not only the Rico guys, but, you know, a lot of like the Vixen guys, you ask them, they're like, dude, they're the best ones ever. It's like, what do you normally throw? I only throw those. It's like, okay, well,
that's,
you know, you're
yeah,
probably
of
jaded.
course you're going to, you're going to do great on that if it's the only one you're throwing.
Right. And that's what I like about your podcast too, is I try to stay away from, like, I don't work with any one rod or reel brand, like no one lure brand. Yep. And that's what I really appreciate on your show, is you try to give as unbiased of a, you know, everybody's got a little bit of bias when they talk about anything, but you know, as unbiased of a view as you can. So I appreciate that.
I'm okay with you having a bias as long as you're not being paid to change your views toward that bias. Like, you know, I have biases toward the gear that I like because I like it and because I use it. And it's not because someone is sliding me a check every month and saying you need to pimp this rod company out or this reel company out.
Right.
Which was another thing that the industry, when I started this, I felt like was missing, is like, I can't find a place where people will talk about every brand. Who will talk about, you'll hear people talking, like if they're a Z-Man guy, they'll say Chatterbait. If they're not a Z-Man guy, they'll say bladed jig. And they will, and it's like they all have NDAs or something. Like they can't talk about certain things. Like, dude, just give me a comparison between a Thunder Cricket, a Jackhammer, a Slobber Knocker. Like, give me all the names, tell me all the info, and quit hiding things. You have these guys that are on YouTube that will like scratch out the name of the reel that they're using because they're not getting paid by it. It's like, good God, man.
Yeah.
But Mike in this comment has a interesting thing. So in the Rick Clun episode, because you just asked me like why I like Ricos, and it's because I can have this range of motion. Rick doesn't fish them even remotely the same way as I fish them, which is really cool. If you go listen to that episode, Rick Clun is throwing a Rico on like 14 to 17 pound mono on a heavy casting rod, and he's just chugging them as fast as he can. And he said that's the secret to it. That's why they're so effective, is because their motion on that fast chug. And I mean, when we did it, it was over the phone, but I wish you could have seen my face. I was like, you're telling me you're throwing a bait caster with a heavy or an extra heavy rod with super thick mono, and you're just busting this thing? And he's like, yeah. It's like, that's not how I fish it at all.
I can't argue with that. I mean, you're Rick Clun, so I can't really say you're an idiot. But I would if you weren't Rick Clun.
But that's why it's fun to listen to multiple people, right? The exact same lure, and both people will swear it's the best popper they've ever used, but they fish it night and day different.
Yep. And, you know, kind of going back to the sponsor thing, same way, like I could care less if somebody's sponsored by something if they believe in it. The problem that I have with sponsors is if you're promoting something and you're, you know, getting paid or even not getting paid, whatever, you're sponsored and promoting something that you'd never used and that you don't really like, I have a huge problem with that. Yeah. Like if you've used, you know, let's say Lou's reels and you want to work with Lou's because you love them, great, talk about it. You know, if you truly stand behind it and what you're saying, you really love it, awesome, you know, so.
And the cool part is the fishing industry, and credit to like listeners and watchers and subscribers and things like that. They're getting hip to it at this point. Like they're realizing they can see through the bull so quick. Where in the early days, I don't think people did as much because we weren't so jaded and we thought these people were being genuine. And now it's almost the opposite. It's almost you automatically assume they're not being genuine, and then it's refreshing when you do find someone that is. And that's unfortunately it's how everything goes. But yeah, I want to listen to someone and talk and hear somebody talk about multiple brands. And like I said, I love like a good example is like I love Dobbins rods. I fish probably 80% Dobbins rods. I've never taken a dime from Gary. I don't make any money on Dobbins rods. I just think for the money and for 2 or 3 of the lines that they have, it's kind of like best bang for your buck. And I will tote them until the cows come home, until something better comes around, right? Or until I find something, and then I'll switch. Like I have right beside me a rod that's going to ruin me that I just got in.
American Legacy hooked you up with some. No, you and Gramps both.
But you want to know what's crazy about this though? When you say like someone hooked you up with something, I paid for this rod. Like that's
no, I didn't mean it that way.
No, I know.
I'm just saying I know what's coming. They're the Loomis Superstore. I've heard once you get your hands on one, it's like, oh, they're so nice.
Yeah. But it's like I want people to know, and I think those are the best people to listen to, is like I pay for my stuff just like everybody else. I did a review on my kayak that I just bought. I didn't take a dime from that kayak company. I did my research. I found the one I wanted to buy, and I went and paid $1,200 just like everybody else does. So I think that's the fun part of it. I wouldn't want to be held to one brand or one 10%
And
off tungsten company I need to be throwing out all the time.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because like I have no problem if a company wants to send me a rod for free. I'm absolutely fine with that as long as I'm like, can I be completely honest? Like when I do the review and talk about, and you would be surprised the number of people that have reached out to me and been like, well, that's not what we're really sending it for. We would like X number posts and this number thing. I'm like, nah, I'm good. You can keep it, you know. But if a company's like, you know, if a company's like, yeah, absolutely, check it out, see, you know, what you think of it. If you like it, great. If you don't, you know, talk about it. You know, cool. I'm fine with that. You know, Daiwa is like, I have no ties in with Daiwa. I've never got anything free from them. I just recently got a Tatula Elite that was crap. Like it was bone dry, you know, and being able to talk about companies like that, like, hey, this was good or this was bad, whether, you know, you're paying for it or not, I think is the big key. And it's hard to find.
And I had to, this is probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. I put in like a rule for myself, basically, where I wasn't going to take anything for free, because even if someone told me that, oh, you can give an honest review of it, I felt guilty of taking something from someone. And like, I felt like I was leaning toward the side of giving it a positive review because I had this like implicit thing in the back of my head. It's like, these people sent you this thing for free. And so that's unfortunately right. I just have a blanket statement now. So that's the nice part. When you listen to the show, you know that nobody sent me anything. I'm going to go and buy it just like everybody else does. And that's the fun part. If I think it stinks, I can say it stinks. It's terrible. It's awful. And you don't have to sugarcoat anything.
Yeah. And I think to be fair, go ahead, Randy.
I was just going to say, you know, kind of backtracking just a little bit, you know, I watch a little bit more YouTube than what Debo does, and seeing these guys that came up, you know, kind of got their big start with one company, say it's like Lose or something like that. And then they go to a different company, and then for some reason, they come across a Lose. And this is just an example. They come across another high dollar Lose reel that they use for whatever reason. And they're like, I don't even know what kind of this is. And then they look at it all kind of funny, like they've never even heard of the company before. It's like, come on, dude, give me a break.
Yeah. You know dang well that's a Metanium in your hand.
Yeah, right.
There's quite a few of those out there.
Yeah, okay, so let's see. So I think we've covered that. I like your views. I appreciate that you know you're not afraid to, and I'm not going to say bash a company, but be able to say the goods and the bads. I think that's the big thing out there is being able to see it from both views. Yeah. And speaking of that was actually going to be a perfect segue into the next question. If you only had one combo, I was at your house right now. I've got my entourage with me. I'm like, listen, bro. We're taking you out fishing. You only get to take one combo. We'll break your arms if you try to take two. You only take one. What's it going to be? That might be a bit harsh. I wouldn't.
Are we going to a lake? Are we lake fishing?
Dude, that's the surprise. I don't know. You don't know.
Ugh. I'm probably going to take. I have a Shimano Corrado 200K. It's an 8-to-1, and I'm probably going to take it with my Dobbins Champ 734C. So like a 7.3. It's a heavy in Dobbins, so it's really a medium heavy. So I would take a 7.3 medium heavy, fast rod, just a regular action, and then I'd take an 8-to-1 reel. I'd probably have anywhere from 15 to 18 pound fluoro on it, probably Sunline Sniper. I'd put it on there, and I'd be game for whatever.
See, that was interesting. I noticed that listening to your other, I forget which show it was, if it was the Fall Baits, I forget which one, but I noticed you're a fan of the faster reels, which, you know, there's a lot of talk in the industry, like anything over, you know, you listen to G-Man, anything over a 6 something is way too fast, you know, and some people like, I love a 7-ish, 7.2, 7.5. I can do anything on it. Whereas Randy's like, man, I have a hard time going over like a 6.0, you know? So again, another like fun thing that each of us do it a little bit differently. There's no, you know, it's not 2 + 2 = 4 in fishing. It's 2 + 2 = 87. So keep trying.
Well, what's interesting is like I actually talked to Gerald about this same thing about 2 months ago, and because he came out with the new Inception G2s that are like, he's got a badass cranking reel
at iCast, right?
It's a 5-to-1, and he's got a really nice Inception cranking reel that he came out with, and he did bump it down to a 5-to-1. And you're walking around iCast, and there are no 5s anymore. Like nobody's throwing 5s anymore. They're all going faster. If you look at my combos, you're basically going to see like high 7s, low 8s to 1s, or 5. Like I have 2 5s that I still use because I love cranking. and I will never bump up unless you have like a, in a pinch, you can go like a 6.4 or something like that. That's okay. But I have a couple 5-to-1 Corrados that I still use for cranking, and I love. I don't do a whole lot of the intermediate stuff because anything that I don't want to crank with, I feel like I can do okay with an 8-to-1 or even a 7-to-1. I don't really use the sixes that much anymore. But you're still going to see, like, if you look around, if I've got 5 rods, probably 3 of them are 8s and 2 of them are 5s.
And the reason I asked, I'm sure you get right, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with that because like you're saying, I would say if it's not just like a regular moving bait, I mean, 6 out of 10 things that I'm throwing, you're working with the rod anyway. The reel is really just to kind of take up line and move them, once you've already done that, besides like Chatterbait, like really the big single hook baits, I would say are my big that I like a 7 on. Then, once you get into deep, I think it's different for like if you're throwing a square bill or a 6-foot diver, I don't think you need that special, low gear ratio. You're talking, deep cranking, really digging and pulling, maybe bigger spinner baits, it can help. But for the most part, gear has gotten so much better. Like you're saying, you can't find 5s anymore. Back when I was learning, like a 5 was fast. In the 90s, I got a 5-speed reel. This thing's really, really fast. People were winning championships fishing just 5-speed reel, so
yeah, the thing that's the dirty little secret, I guess, about like gear ratios is that it's not necessary for the bait to work right. It's just more of like to make it easier on you, the angler. So like the reason that you crank with a 5-to-1 is because it's like pedaling a bike uphill. It's hard to do. And what do you do when you pedal a bike uphill? You drop the gear down. You go from 8th gear to 1st gear because you pedal more, but it's easier to pedal up the hill. If you left it in 8, you would never make it up the hill because it's so hard. It's the same thing with throwing a DT16. You could crank it with an 8-to-1, but you're going to wear your arm out and it's going to be terrible and it's going to be awful. Or you can crank that 5-to-1, more cranks, and you can get it down there and it'll be a lot more comfortable. So that's how I always think of it, as like a mountain bike.
Yep. And really, like, the only lure that I can think of that really benefits that, like, it actually helps the lure with the fast reel is like a buzz bait. Like if you're really bombing those casts, like an 8-speed, yeah, you're completely right. I mean, a fast reel is you're either reeling it in quicker or you're taking up line quicker, to make more casts. But it's really not like you said, imperative to the bait.
I would jump in and say like a frog too. I would prefer a faster reel for a frog.
Yeah, you almost have to have.
Around here, you need to get it up. You don't want it to get down into the lily pad stems and the other junk that's down below. You want to be able to get it up and out as quick as possible.
Yeah, and I spent 2 seasons fishing that 6-speed Revo accent and then the Daiwa 200 Tatula for my frog. So it's like,
but then again, you say, what is it? What's your jig reel, Debo? Your jig reel is like an 8 or is it a high 7?
7.5.
7.5.
And then what do you use for a jig reel?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm using a Corrado now, but before I was using a Revo winch. And that was a
Revo winch.
5-4-1.
Yeah.
5-4-1. That was
flipping?
I fished. Yeah.
Well, for finesse drag and a ball jig, that was his favorite because he tends to go too fast. So it's like when you're fishing a finesse jig,
it forces you to slow down, I guess.
One thing that he would always tell me is
catch up with it. I mean, I can reel faster. For me, it's much, much, much harder to reel a lot slower, and constantly have to be reminding myself. I tell myself out loud, slow down. Like literally. Debo will be like, what did you say? And I was like, oh, nothing. I'm just talking to myself, trying to remind myself to slow down because the majority of my reels now are, low 7s. Yeah. So I'm constantly having to tell myself, slow down. See,
and this is what I love about fishing. I love that I can sit here and tell you that I love an 8-to-1 for jigs and that I think it's perfect. And you can throw in a Revo winch, a cranking reel, and you can flip it and it's fine. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's all preference. It's all what works best for you. Like with me, when I'm working a jig, like offshore, for instance, I'm almost never even moving the jig with my reel. I'm moving the jig with my rod and then using my reel to catch back up. And so the speed of the reel almost doesn't even matter, except for it's much more easy for me to have, a third of a crank to catch up than it is to do a full crank to catch up. But you can still do either. It's my favorite part about fishing.
100%. And, the other thing is a lot of people ask me like, oh, how do you like when you're jig fishing, what were you doing there? How are you doing it? Or Debo will even ask me, what are you doing? Or things like that. And I'm like, Oh, I'm almost using a ball head jig, kind of like a swim jig, and I'm kind of like yo-yoing it and swimming it
Yeah.
back to the shore. And it's like you just got to try a little bit of everything just to see what they want, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like somebody will look at you and be like, "What the hell are you doing? Why are you doing that? That you shouldn't be doing that with the lure." They make other lures that do that exact same thing, but
All
hey, it
preference. All
works.
comes down to confidence.
Who's your ball head
Hmm.
jig of choice?
War Eagle.
Okay.
Hmm.
Nice. There used to be a guy, I think he was in either Indiana or Illinois around here, that used to make some pretty good ones. It was called Bait Buffet. I don't know if he still makes them or not, but it was he might be even out of business at this point, but he made some of the best little ball jigs I've ever seen. And I can't remember if he's from Indiana or Illinois. I'll have to look it up, see if he's still in business. But
Yeah,
yeah, War Eagle makes a good ball head.
my buddy that I kind of got jig fishing from him. He was big into War Eagle, and it's just kind of one of those things. I'm not one. I kind of like to stick to my lane when it comes to fishing. I know what I like, and I know what I'm comfortable with, and sure, I'll get outside of that zone from time to time. I'm not scared to get outside of that zone, but it's not my preference. I know I want to throw a War Eagle with a Strike King Rage chunk trailer, and that's what I'm going to do. And I feel like I can catch fish on it pretty much anytime I go out, except Debo, since you recommended that rod, the what was it, the Intenza?
Yeah,
I haven't
Shimano
caught a
Intensa.
single. I haven't caught a single jig fish since I bought that rod.
Cursed.
Well, sounds like user error to me.
Yeah, I haven't put
let's
it in the wet. Blaming the weather.
Let's see. Okay, so I'm skipping over questions. Andrew, this one I don't have to say. Whoops, sorry, everybody. I knocked you with my knee. What is your kayak? There was a couple of people that asked, what kayak do you fish out of?
Yeah, so I'm on my 4th kayak now. So I started out with an
Oh,
Ascend A10. That was a $250 crappy Bass Pro sit inside kayak that I bought, and then I moved to an Ascend A10, an Ascend 10T, which was like their version of a sit on top kayak, again a Bass Pro version of it. And then a couple years later, I moved to a Feel Free Lure 10, which was my first like nice fishing sit on top kayak. And then I just got to the point where I was having buddies that had pedal drives or that had motors and were smoking me. And I was like, I have to get some sort of propulsion system other than paddling. Those days when you're going on 12 miles on the river and the wind's in your face and you just want to die and you don't want to have to make the last 6 miles of this. And so I ended up with a Old Town PDL 106. And so that's what I've got now, and I love it. It's great. There's a couple quirky things on it that I really wish they would have fixed straight out of the factory. The cool part is,
Like
I
what?
guess,
Can you talk about them quick? Because I know nothing when it comes to anything, anybody talking kayak, all the words that you just said was like the old school Peanuts. Yeah, I have an old school and a sand. I don't even know what the hell this guy's talking about. I gotta.
Yeah. So now I've got an Old Town. It's a 10'6" pedal drive kayak. So it's got the thing with pedal drives is you can go the Hobie way, which has 2 fins that go like this under it, and it kicks back and forth, and then they've got like the 180 and the 360 where you pull a lever and it'll go backwards and forwards. Or you can do like an Old Town version, which is an actual prop. So I'm pedaling it like a bike, and it's moving a prop under me. The nice part about that is if you're pedaling it like a bike, you pedal it forward and this prop is pushing you forward. If you stop and you pedal backwards, it reverses. So it's an instant reverse. So
do you have like a hand rudder thing to steer you?
Yeah. So that was one of the weird parts of it, is that one, I'm coming from, I didn't have a pedal drive system before. So my feet used to do the steering of the rudder for me. And now it's obviously hand, which you're going to have on a pedal drive. The thing with the Old Towns is they have this, it's on your left. I wish it was a little bit more forward, but it's okay. But you would have this thing and you push it to the right or the left. And it's really like loose right off the bat, where it's like boom, 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 and it doesn't stay. And so what they did is there's this little plastic knob that you tighten down, and it basically makes it easier or harder to steer. But the problem is all it's doing is tightening a bolt into your plastic and making it friction. And so basically, as you tighten it down, you're scraping your kayak, and that's how it's putting more tension on it. So why that was the choice to do it, I don't know. All they had to do, and there's a guy named Navarre Kayak Solutions who has this. He's basically a guy that said, hey, there's like 10 things wrong with kayaks out there that I wish I could fix. About 3D printer, and
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, he makes these parts for him. And everything that I had a problem with, most of them he's got a fix for. And so one of them was he's got this little pin system that you put up in the rudder and you tighten, and now you don't have to use that tension knob anymore. And you take that off, and it's a lot nicer. When you pull it up to get weeds out of your prop, there's a nut that you have to loosen to loosen it enough to get the weeds out. That nut, if it falls into the hole that you just created by pulling your pedal drive out, it goes to the bottom of the lake and you can't pedal anymore the rest of the time. And so he made a floating prop nut that you tighten on there, and then if you drop it, it just floats.
Wow.
Like yes, little stuff like that. It's
they best
weird.
be reaching out to him on that. That's
Again, it blows my mind. It's like all of this stuff when you're making that kayak would cost you like 4 cents to change, and they just don't do it. But I really do like that kayak. I think for the money, it was a good investment for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I've had people asking me, like, I've got a bunch of kayak folks that watch now, which is awesome. Great way to get off the bank. Not too expensive. Obviously you can make it as expensive as you want, but it's hard for me to justify that when I've got an 11-foot jumbo and there's kayak guys that have bigger kayaks than I do. So it's like,
you have something. You have a vessel to get you to the places that other people can't.
Exactly.
That's all you need.
Yep. Real quick, do you want to thank Mr. Is it Ty Carbide? Hopefully that's how you say it, or TI Carbide. I don't know. Becoming a member, and let's see, Braden down here. I'm a little bit behind on comments. Braden's Cast and Shoot, also a member. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you and all the other members. Philip is a huge supporter. Philip and I talk a lot. He said, I heard the word printer, drink. So there's a few running jokes on my channel. Anytime I get up, people take a drink. Anytime I mention printer, which I said you said 3D printer, so that's close. But I will mention that I have a thermal printer. I don't know if you've ever seen a thermal printer before.
No,
I just got into this thing. They're pretty cheap. I got it like $70 off Amazon. But it's this thing. So I've got a crankbait business. I paint crankbaits on the side and stuff. Let me just show you here real quick. Andrew.
He's gonna get up and go, oh no.
This is a
I see the comments. Thermal printer.
So
it's like for labels.
It's a label.
Yeah. But
It's
it
a
doesn't
label
take like ink or anything. It prints ink on this like with thermal, with heat or whatever is in the thing.
Yeah,
I had never heard of these.
Into it.
Yeah, I never heard of them. So now, like when I do giveaways, I do anything, you just stick that on, and it's a huge time saver because
invest in thermal printers.
If there's anything I want to get sponsored by more than anything, it's a thermal printer company.
It's like Brother or something. It's some
3M
maker.
Hey, 3M, thanks.
And the only
really
other thing is,
saver, so.
There's one more, Debo, you have to bring up.
I don't know what.
Alabama's worst angler just said it at 850. Gander.
The gander sales. Yeah, you probably are. You're probably privy to that. Did you have any ganders that went out of business that you just ransacked?
Yeah. Well, I didn't get to ransack them, but I know some people that got to ransack. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, getting the 11 packs of gammy hooks for 90 cents and like just stupid deals, man. So
yeah.
Anyway,
ours went from like a Gander Mountain to a Gander Outdoors, and they still have some fishing stuff, but they sold like everything.
Yeah. Ours went out twice. So the original Gander went out of business. And I kind of got into the tail end of it. And
then they opened back up in the same location.
Same store,
location.
Just so they could close out again.
Weirdest thing.
Run it back.
I don't know. Yeah. We'll try it.
The second time was definitely serious because they started selling like shelving, display units, the whole nine.
Yeah. Now I think ours sells like mostly like campers and stuff.
Yeah.
What is it? With
Outdoor World or something. Yeah. Camper, Gander Outdoor World.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, we digress. We do that a lot on the show. I'm sorry. You're probably not used to digressing.
That's what makes it fun.
And, you usually are with more professional people than I just saw you were with the Serious Angler Crew and Alex. So I haven't got to listen to that one yet. Oh, that's the other one I was trying to think of. Bailey and Serious Angler. That's the other podcast. Yeah.
He does a great job.
So I saw you were on that one. Yeah. Probably a little bit more serious and professional than what's on here. So
you very underestimate when Rudd and Bailey and Andy and I get together.
I'm sure those boys can get into it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had a couple saved here. This has been a lot of fun. Let's see. We're at 49 minutes. I'm going to do a random box after an hour, which is usually our giveaway time. I'm going to pick somebody random. You're going to get a special Debo box of goodies, and we'll do a giveaway. But let's see. I've got a couple things saved, and a couple of them tie into. I'm not ignoring them. I'm looking at my phone because I
got one right before you move forward, and this is a super easy one.
I'm going to pin this one because it's one of my pinned things I can do. Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say personal best. I would say either or both largemouth, smallmouth poundage.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, I don't know if you guys are the same way. Around here, we measure largemouth by weight and we measure smallmouth by length. That's just how we've always done it. So I have no idea how much my PB smallmouth weighed, but I know how long it was. And almost vice versa on my largemouth. I know how much it weighed, but not how long it was. But my PB largemouth was 612, which for public water Ohio is about as big as they top out around here pretty much.
Yeah.
So 612, and then I've caught 3 that were over 6. And so I've only got 4 that have topped 6 pounds in my whole life. And then my PB smallmouth was 20.5 inches. And that's a river fish. That's not like a Lake Erie fish or anything. That's like a tributary river fish. Yeah.
So almost 4 pounds, would you say?
Yeah,
or
I would say
a little over 4.
Yeah, I would probably say low to mid 4s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a tank. Yeah, river fish.
It's the only one I've caught that I think
I
didn't have a scale with me either, or I probably would have weighed it, but it's the only one I've caught where I thought maybe it could have been pushing 5.
Ooh,
wow, that's a very small one.
Yeah. Smallmouth of any weight they're just mean.
Dude, they're nasty. I don't get to catch them enough. They're just plain nasty.
I can find a picture of it.
It feels like anytime I go to release a smallmouth, like especially if I'm in a boat, you put them in the water, you kind of give them a little bit of reviving or whatever, and you kind of start to let
you in the
go.
face.
And he like bites onto your hand real quick, and then he swims over on his side, flips you off his fin, and splashes water in your face.
I don't know if you can see. I don't know if it's going to focus.
Oh Jesus!
Oh yeah, that's a donkey.
It's sort of.
That is.
You can't tell, but
yeah, no, that's
a good one.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that's a monster, dude.
But yeah. What about you guys?
You caught that wading in a creek?
So I was kayaking at the time. Yeah, this was
okay.
That was probably November. So it was cold out. Like we were wearing waders and everything in the kayaks, and it was pretty chilly. And that fish was in like 20 foot of water in a river that has a normal pool of like 4 or 5. So it was in its deep winter hole. And
dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about...
It just seems like around here, like they top out in that river at like 20.5. I've seen 121 on a board actually the entire time I've been fishing this river. So that's it. So they pretty much genetically top out, I think, at around 20.5, 20 3/4.
Yeah. I think my smallmouth would probably be a mid 3. Again, a river smallmouth. And so even though you're kind of in locational, yes, geographical. Jesus, words are tough sometimes. Even though you're kind
Randy
of
was
in
an
line,
English major.
Even though you're kind of in line with where we are, I feel like it probably gets a little bit colder here than what it does where you are, and so our seasons are a little bit shorter.
I was going to look real quick.
Where are you guys
I was
at?
Surprised. We're in Iowa.
Iowa.
We're in like east central Iowa.
Yeah, that's probably one of those deceiving things where I think of Iowa as a little bit north of us, but I don't know.
Sure.
You guys are a little south. I was just going to look.
I know smallmouth probably mid 3s, not too much. Mid 3 might be pushing it, and largemouth, it like 5.15. It's right below 6. I know there's been a couple of times where. On DEBO'S been nice enough to put them on his videos. Well, at least one of them where could have been my PB.
Was nice enough to what?
The one topwater frog.
Oh yeah.
Topwater bass that I thought was probably my PB that blew up, and it was a stupid cast. I was just being a smart guy and wanted to beat DEBO down to the bank, and I just bombed a cast out there, not thinking.
Yeah, that was a monster.
massive blow
10
up.
pounds. That had to have been at least 10 pounds, bro. How do you feel about losing
14.
a 10 pounder?
14 pounder,
28
Iowa State
pounds.
record.
Dottie, you
World
missed
record.
Dottie.
Yeah, dude, that was
Yeah.
Dottie's spawn that accidentally got into an
Yeah.
Iowa lake. The
Yep.
only one ever transplanted by a guy named Gerald, who made the trip. Anyway, yeah. So
What's
you're
it-
in Dayton. So you're like down here, and
Yeah.
we're all the way up here.
Okay,
up in
yeah.
this. So it's like it's crazy how because I think of like Ohio directly west of us, and it's like same for Illinois. Like I was talking to, I forget who it was that said they were in Southern Illinois. I'm like, oh, that's just close to us. They're clear on here. They're almost in Tennessee, like down by Evansville. Like that's nuts. Like you don't really think of that a lot, but anyway.
Earlier when we first started, you said your fall's coming in, or you first signs of fall in that first cold front. What was that temp drop down to? Like what was
So the crazy part was on, let's see, what day is today? Today's Saturday. So I think it was Wednesday. It was like 90 degrees here. And then Thursday it dropped down, and when you woke up, it was like 40.
We had record highs.
Like,
it was like 98. Yeah, we had record highs that Wednesday.
What's that? La Nina doing that? La Nina or the hurricane or something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was out here, and I'm in Nebraska right now, and that same like Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere around there, it was air temp was 100, and feel like temp was like 102 or 103 or something like that. Just brutal of a day. And then the next day, 62. And it's like, hello, pneumonia. I'm getting sick for sure.
So
30,
Tom Alfred, who I still crack up about the Burley Bunch, which is another podcast. Those nerds need to get their stuff going again. It was another one that I listened to. And anyway,
I heard that they are soon. Just FYI.
I think they are. Yeah, I think Burley said they're going to be. Yep. So Tom Allred, what are you more proud of, Andrew, the largie or the smallie? Maybe this is for all of us.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like a 4.5 whatever pound largemouth fights like a 9-pound largemouth, and it's out of a river. I love those just aggressive ecosystem river fish, and it was so much fun. Yeah, I was definitely spent more time chasing that fish than the 612.
Was the largemouth that come from lake, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like I've seen some big largemouth come out of the river, like 4 or 5 pounders, and I'm like, holy cow, that thing's got to be mean. Just because it's a large, you don't ever see a largemouth get that big in a river system. At least I don't anyway. But when you do, they're mean, just as mean as smallmouth. They must be hanging out together or something.
Yeah, there's definitely like parts of the river that are more largemouthy than others. Like we still don't have that many largemouth in our rivers. They're almost all smallmouth, but these like stagnant, kind of dammed off little areas where it's like almost looks more like a big pond than it does part of the river. You'll find some
part of a lake, cut up lake.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and like the cool thing about around here is, I don't know, I would assume you guys are kind of the same. We have kind of a number of different ways to fish. So it's like, it's not like we're fishing only like highland reservoirs. We're not only fishing rivers, cuts. We're not only fishing big, huge wooded, like Lake Fork. Like we kind of have a little bit of everything. We have grass lakes. We have real clear like reservoirs. We have like impoundments that were like big gravel pits. So we can have, a 200-acre old like gravel cut, or I forget what they call them,
flooded
like strip
forest.
pits. Strip pits. Yeah, we have flooded forest. We have we have kind of a little bit of everything. So it's like, from the number of people I've talked to, like Hank Baskey, for example, him and Jim's actually in Southern Illinois. Like Hank Baskey fishes like pretty much big clear reservoirs that are, he can see down, 15, 20 feet of clarity. And like for me around here, like we've got a few spots like that, but it's like, that's not all I fish,
Yeah. All of our stuff around here is dirty, like almost all of it. They're just gross. Flood control lakes basically is like the only lakes that we actually have. And so they're just, and we're in a valley, like Dayton and this part of Ohio is in the low part of the state. And so Dayton in specific, like we flood really bad. We have 4 different rivers that converge into Dayton at the low point. And so anytime it rains, it's just Willy Wonka's chocolate factory for like 2 weeks. Yeah, it's awful.
Oh, well.
Yeah, the crazy thing is,
and throw the loud and crazy big stuff, I guess.
Yeah. Debo and I kind of know both about, where I come from. There's tons of rivers and lakes and bodies of water and things like that. And DEBO'S got a pretty large river for what Iowa is considered, and we usually have to deal with like the flooding and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So it's definitely that dirty, just kind of rivery, mucky chocolate milks kind of water there too. Yeah.
Yep.
This is the thing that I think is funny too. Mr. Fish in the Southeast in here, always a good supporter of all the channels. Said I've not caught one single smallmouth, and that's the other kind of fun thing about here is we kind of have a mix of stuff. And I don't know, I'm sure you guys have quite a bit of pike, but like, what's your view on pike? Do you like pike? You a pike guy or no?
I mean, if I catch him, I probably caught 3 or 4 pike in my whole life in the river. So
really?
Our river's interesting. Where where Dayton is, if you go north of Dayton in our river system, about probably 45 minutes to an hour, you'll start to run into more pike as you go up state. And then obviously as you get more north, you'll run into more. But Dayton is kind of like at the point where pike don't really live anymore. That cutoff, like I said, about 30, 40 minutes north of us. We do have not a lot, but we have 3 or 4 different lakes where we have a good muskie population. And so I muskie fish a lot. That's my other thing that I absolutely love to do. It's brutal and it's awful, and it makes me contemplate my life every time I go fishing for them. But it's the chase is so much fun.
Yeah, I've never caught a muskie. We have quite a few good lakes around here too. One's like 20 minutes from my house, which is like one of the best in the state. I've never caught a muskie out of there muskie fishing. I've only caught them on bass tackle. So it's like anytime I throw muskie stuff on muskie gear, it's like
I don't know if you can see. It's gonna be blurry. It's gonna be blurry.
Jesus.
But way too blurry.
Dang.
But yeah, no, that thing's huge.
Yeah.
They're 40. That's kind of
40,
like the measure around
47.
Here, 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my biggest is like a 30-inch on bass tackle. So
they're so much fun. But yeah, I mean, it took me probably 2 years to land my first one. I had way more than they say the fish of 10,000 casts or whatever. I had way more than 10,000 casts in because we never went with bass tackle. We went with like the 8-foot rods, the big bulldogs, and the big double 10 cowgirls and all that kind of thing. Yeah, and targeted them with these just absolutely ridiculous lures, and that's obviously the fun part of it is going out and you're gonna have every 10 trips
that much more
gonna suck, and the 11th one's gonna be worth it.
Yeah. It's a very different. Like I can't tell you how excited I was the first time. I have had follows on like the Medusa, which has been kind of the bait, my crutch bait. The mini Medusa is actually really good for pike around here, but I can't tell you how excited I was the first time I had a follow. Like it's a very weird experience seeing like a big, like it was a mid-30s, like I would guesstimate, and it's like, oh my god, dude, it's falling. Like
you try not to freak out, and you try and go through your figure eight and keep your stuff together and not scream.
So I gotta show this real quick, and this is like super ghetto, I know, but I was looking up. There's a town to the west of me, and it's like, there's a big muskie caught out of the river, and so I was trying to look it up. And speak of the devil, who's that guy right there with a Medusa in his hand? That just shows up in the old Google search.
Where?
Do you see that man?
Is that Andrew? Where are you?
No,
no. Is that me?
Yeah, that's you with a Medusa.
What?
Just showing up. Yeah.
Oh, that's 100%. Weird.
Yeah, very weird. Why are you showing up?
I don't know.
Showing up here?
Big muskie.
I get around. You didn't know? Yeah, I get around. I'm huge in the muskie world.
Big in the
Medusa
muskie
go
world.
way back. Yeah. Big legends. People talk about me.
Okay,
let's see. So we have gone completely off track. I wanted to ask you. Okay, we're at an hour 3. So in a couple of minutes we'll do a giveaway.
Plenty of time. I've got all night.
Okay, I was going to ask if you have like another 30 minutes. I would say.
Nope, I don't have a bedtime. We're good.
Okay, good. I called your mom and she said that you can come play and we can do a sleepover. So I miss those days, dude. Me and my buddy were just talking about that, like staying up late, playing PlayStation.
Yeah, getting a large pizza and like life was good.
Yep, some Surge and Dr. Pepper and. Okay, so one question I had, I've kind of skipped over it, but what are your thoughts on? I know you just did a show of it, the 4. I don't remember how you labeled it. 4 wacky lures or like silly lures, weird lures. But I've had multiple people ask about the Z-Man Hellraiser. Have you got one yet? Have you fished it at all, or is it still kind of on that list?
Yeah, so I got to see them and I got to throw one down in Florida at ICAST.
Oh yeah, because you were at ICAST. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. Like on one hand, I don't want to take a dump on it because there's very few times where you look at a lure come out and you're like, wow, that is something I've never seen before. And that is interesting. And that is a different take on something. And I will always tip my hat to that. Good on you. That's fine.
Sure. Yep.
I couldn't find any situation where I thought that was going to outperform something that I already had in my tackle box. Like, I don't see a situation where that's going to outperform a prop bait, a buzz bait, a walking bait. Like if I want that side to side fast action, I can walk a tight little spook like that. If I want to cover water, I can cover water with a buzz bait or with a Chapo or whatever it can be. I don't know. It's not weedless. Obviously it had big treble on it and stuff, so you can't throw it around weeds. So there's a knock on it too. So it's probably cool. I think it's probably going to be in that same category as like the 3D bat and stuff like that, where it's like, it's going to be fun to catch some stuff on and some novelty of going out and throwing something brand new and different and catching some fish on it. But I don't think you're not going to look back in like 5 years and Gerald Swindle is going to be on tour throwing a Hellraiser, right? There's a reason it's going to be more of a novelty than it is going to be a big game changer in your tackle box.
Yeah, and I was kind of the same way. Like the first thing that I thought of, I guess, kind of being a pike nerd, topwater, like especially topwater pike, man, they are mean as hell. They porpoise out of the water. They're just crazy little slimy snake things. Like the first time I saw it, I was like, man, I bet that would actually be a pretty fun pike lure.
Yeah.
But at the same point, I don't know that it's like one that I would be like, oh, it's going to be so much better than plopper or a buzzbait, you know.
And I'm not going to pay $17 or $12 or whatever it is for a pike lure. It's going to get taken in the third fish.
Yep. So like I got one from Tackle Warehouse. I'm going to try it. I'm going to give it a fair shot and see. But the only reason I go back to that is because there's been a couple lures. Probably the biggest, most famous one was the Whopper Plopper. I held out on that for so long. I'm like, dude, this thing's stupid. It's a gimmick. It looked dumb. And now it's honestly one of my favorite like topwater search baits. I love it. You know, a plopper is legit. Like you said, you see guys fishing it on tour now. You know, look like Chris Lane or Bobby Lane. You know, big proponents of the lure. You know, it's one of those that has kind of staying power. So it's like, yeah, Hellraiser. I don't know. I'll give it a shot, but
you know, it's funny. Kind of when I first saw the Hellraiser, I thought of a musky lure. I thought of Suick. Like if you've ever seen a Suick, it's
exactly.
Like a dive and rise bait. And it's what it looked like in terms of the shape of it and kind of that long, skinny undercut.
I don't think actually we're talking about this on another show. I don't know if I have
and the same thing with a plopper, right? A plopper is just to take on a musky chopper.
Yeah, the metal bladed. What they call it? I forget what they called those old ones. I don't know if I have a Suick in here or not. No, I don't. But yeah, imagine like the Hellraiser wooden lip. You pop it and jerk it and rise. And I don't think I have it. But,
that's what I thought of when I first saw it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, for pike, I think it'd be fun. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I'm gonna have to run a leader with it. Is that gonna mess with the retrieve? We'll try it. We'll see.
Right.
But who knows? Okay, so that was one that I had saved for you. The next one was, let's see, what is this one? This one I saw marked. Have you guys got to throw a sleeper gill around yet? Have been having fun with it up on the BOQ. I'm not the guy to ask, so I'll go real quick first. I think most of the people know I am not a fan of the dark sleeper, being somebody who fishes primarily bank fishing. I think it's more of a boat deal. But I was throwing dark sleepers. I got, I think, 3 snagged within the first like hour and lost $20-something when they.
It wasn't even an hour. It was like the first 16 minutes.
And I've tried them off and on, and for me, it's kind of like you were saying. There's a number of other baits, be it a finesse jig, be it a Ned rig, a shaky head, that can fill that spot that I just don't, because you know they say to fish it like a jig. You know, it's not just a swim bait. You know, you jig it, you fish it on the bottom. There's a number of other things that I can find that do that better. So I haven't even tried a sleeper gill, so I'm going to hand the mic to you because I know you have, and I'll let you talk about it from here.
Yeah, I did a whole episode on this, like when they were first the hottest thing. Everybody was going nuts. People were buying them when they would drop somewhere, and they were immediately selling them on eBay for like 3 times the price. And it's the first thing I thought of when I saw it. I was like, that looks like something I would find at Walmart, like from Storm or something.
I was just gonna say it's those Storm crappies. Yeah,
it's like a pre-rigged swim bait, like a swim bait with training wheels. Basically, is what I thought of when I saw it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so, but obviously, it has the name Meg Bass on it, so people go bonkers for it. And so I got one just like everybody else. Stayed, waited, got one when they came out. I went to fish it and I was like, all right, I'm going to give this a fair shake. I went out on a very clear lake so that I could see the action, so that I could see how it performed. And I went out and there's two ways, I guess, to fish this. The one is the way that I think you and I both thought when we saw it, which is this is a swim bait. And then there's the other way, which these people are saying, oh no, it's you jig it off the bottom, and that thing looks like a dog turd on the bottom. It looks
and that's exactly what you said in the
awful.
show. You referred to it as a quote unquote dog turd.
It does, dude.
They have poop lures too, bro. I mean, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the industry, but
when you flip it,
those are all
it just it like death spirals down, and it looks awful, and it just sits there on the bottom, and then it just does this, and it like falls over to the side, and it looks bad. But on a straight retrieve, that thing looked great. Like, it has this really cool rolling tail. The way that it's weighted, I could not get that thing to roll over on itself. And that's the thing with some swim baits, obviously, especially pre-rigged ones, as they'll start to go to a side and they'll start to roll over. This thing, the way it was weighted, I could burn that thing like nobody's business, and it didn't roll over at all. So I would say, like, they were, I don't know, I feel like they were marketing that wrong, or they were trying to be too cute with it. It's like, no, dude, it's a swim bait, and it's a swim bait that'll work well. You can tie it on right out of the box. It looks great. The hookup ratio is fine. That was something that when I first saw it, I was like, that hookup ratio is going to be terrible because of how far the body comes up to where the hook is. And so there's not enough room there. Half the body completely collapses, almost like a hollow body frog. And so you get hookup ratio is fine. It's not an issue at all. It's not just the flaps by the hook that collapse. It's like half the body. And so it was, I was pleasantly surprised there. But yeah, if you're just trying to flip it or work it off the bottom, I would implore you to look at 30 other things before you look at a sleeper gill.
Yeah, and that was kind of one of my gripes with the dark sleepers. Like, oh, it has a great weedless design with the dorsal fin. I'm like, dude, this thing gets caught on everything. This is absolute BS. Like,
yep. And the same thing with the sleeper gill is like that flap that's protecting the hook. If you reel it in fast, even you don't even have to hit anything. That flap will kind of like get caught. Yeah, it'll get caught on the hook, and you have to fix it every time. It's like, what's the point of this?
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I don't have a problem with the like it kind of the same way you're saying is like I feel like they marketed it a little bit like but I don't know. I'm not huge on Megabass stuff. I just finally got my first Vision 110. I've never even never bought one. I actually had some subscribers send me some. So
don't let it see any rocks, and you'll be fine.
We'll see.
Those bills are so easy.
That's what I was gonna say. I've heard that they kind of succumb to bill breakage.
They look real.
Here's a good one, Andrew. I don't have any idea on this. I don't know that you've talked about it. Have you tried or used the free rig much?
No, that's another one of those things that I don't see a need for a free rig versus there's other things out there. There's like a Tokyo rig. There's a Jika rig. There's all of these things. Why do I need a drop shot weight sliding? Why can't I just use one of the other 5 things that are out there? I don't know. I think there's certain things every once in a while that come out where I had a rant on this a couple weeks ago too, where I was like, I feel like sometimes fishing lures are like Taco Bell. Like Taco Bell has 7 ingredients and they just mix the ingredients in different ways and it's a different burrito. It's like, this
Instead
is a different way of using the drop shot weight, the line, the EWG hook. And it's like, oh, it's new. It's like, no, you just combine
just
two
don't
things
don't talk bad about
together.
the Mexican pizza and we're good.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure it catches fish just like anything else. I guarantee that it does. It's just not something that I've looked at and thought, ooh, that's going to do better for me than just a regular unpegged Texas rig or a Jika rig or a Tokyo rig.
See, that's the way I am. And it's funny that we get into it because I've argued with Randy, and it does look a little different underwater. I will say that, but I still haven't got away from an unpegged Texas rig. But Randy, I know what you're going to talk about. Go ahead.
The free rig has been, is it 2 years now, or was it, I started using it last year?
2 years, last year.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the end of last, it is honestly one of my go-to baits that I throw all the time now. There's just something about it, the way, because it's not quite, it's an actual free rig weight. It's like a little tungsten weight, and the hook is just like a regular eye hook versus a like a drop shot that pinches down. It's not going to cut the line. It'll slide up back and forth easier and things like that. And there's just something about it that I had more luck on it. And it could have just been coincidence that gave me a false confidence. but it's done better than throwing a Texas rig at the exact same thing using almost the exact same kind of, plastic and things like that. So I don't know. It's definitely something I've picked up and I really like.
Again, that's
Sorry, I
I'll say
wasn't
it a
laughing
billion
at you,
times.
Randy.
It's like the reason why all this stuff is so fun to talk
Yeah.
about. It's because
Yeah.
we can sit here and argue till we're blue in the face of like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. You're like, I caught 50 fish on it yesterday.
Actually, I love that
Right.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just telling, who was it that I had pegged? Steven. I said, yeah, I better go check the Hawks. 3rd and 28 on the Hawks with the ball. 3rd and 28 on the Iowa 42. The hell?
Yeah.
Come on, like, what? I don't even know. Anyway, go
Guys'
Hawks.
game is not really a game anymore. So
Okay, so let's see. Let's get
Yes.
let's get a giveaway going here. We're at an hour 15. I'm sorry I've neglected y'all on the giveaway stuff. We've been kind of going all around the map. I had questions ready, and I thought it was going to be a little bit better put together. So I apologize that we've kind of been everywhere, but it's been fun. I like these.
While you're
Go
doing
ahead,
that, I just want to say, so here in Iowa, there's northwest Iowa, there's a few lakes. It's the Okoboji Lakes. You have east and west Okoboji and Big Spirit Lake. Big Spirit Lake is notorious for monster muskies. And whatever I was just Googling, I happened to cross upon this. And the Iowa DNR, they were doing, pulling eggs out of females and things like that. They came across a 47-pound muskie that,
holy
47 pounds, and it was 52 inches long. And that was early or August 2000. This thing
Big girl.
it has to be yay big around. It's disgustingly, if you guys can see,
Somebody
just
already
this right
guessed
here.
the hashtag. I don't know how you
Holy
wow.
God.
This
is what gets nuts with muskie. Like with muskie, that muskie is 5 inches longer than the muskie that I caught. But when you get to like the high 40s, every inch is just order of magnitude difference in terms of the fish.
I think it was there was actually snow on the ground still. The beginning of, it was either last year or the year before, and I was out trying to bass fish because the ice was out. So I was like, I'm going fishing. Who cares if it's snowing? I'm going anyway. And I happened to cross a pike, and it literally looked like, the mini footballs that kids have. Yeah. Maybe half the size of a regulation size football. It looked like it had a mini football like lodged in its stomach area. And I'm like, normally this fish wouldn't be weight-wise nearly as big. And this thing was a monster just because it had a small football inside of it, I guess.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love them so much. They're such cool fish.
I don't know your thoughts. I think I know your thoughts on this, Andrew, but we have to get, every week we get a question on Googan Baits. What do you think of Googans? What do you think of Googan lures? Every week I've been doing a live for, I don't know how long I've been doing lives. Last year? I don't know. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Googan Baits? Do you use any of them? Fan at all?
Brutal honesty. I would say the first like 6 Googan Baits that came out were just, to me, were like rage tail plastics marketed to a younger crowd.
That's definitely their marketing. Yep.
Yeah, which is fine.
To a younger crowd. Yep.
But if you held them side by side, you looked at a bandito bug and you looked at a rage bug. You looked at a kraken crawl and you looked at a rage crawl. Right there is pretty close. And the flanges and stuff are really what I would count that toward. Like, I obviously understand that crawls look like crawls and creature baits look like creature baits, sure. But the way that they were flanging those appendages to move the way they were was very much Steve Parks's design. And so those ones, whatever, right? At least it looked like they took their time and they developed those and they thought them through, and fine, that's cool. Later on, when they started to get into the basically Catch Co, I think, realized like, hey, we have a marketable brand here. Let's take every lure we've ever heard of and let's slap these GIs on a lure, and we're going to call it a Googan lure, and we're going to sell them for, we pay pennies on the dollar and we sell them. And it was like a marketing thing. I don't think any of their spinner baits or prop baits or any of that kind of stuff was any better than anything else that was out there. It was just brand marketing. But again, I'm not here to dump on anybody that likes to use one of those things. That's great. But
we're the same here. Yep.
I think it was a lot of hype. I think it was obviously capitalizing on a marketable group of people that had a just by the, cojones, a certain group of people that consumed fishing media, and they were like, let's leverage this. And, capitalism wins. So
Sure.
kudos to them.
Yep.
And in the same conversation, every single time it's had, Debo will make fun of me and say that I'm a Googan fanboy and I'm part of the Googan fam and the whole nine. But I really like the trench hog. I like the trench hog as a trailer bait for a chatterbait, or a trailer for a chatterbait.
I like the trench hog. Not for a trailer, but yeah, that's one that I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
The rest of them, kind of like you said, Andrew, are very like rage-ish. I've got enough rage stuff and other things that I think would cover
what's the color, Debo? Is it
that green pumpkin purple? They nailed. Like, there's not a lot of people that do that.
It is,
and I will say that they nailed that color.
You know who else nailed that color? I know exactly what you're talking about because this is my favorite Z-Man color ever. Is green pumpkin goby, I think is what they call it. It is just chef's kiss. Soft plastic color, green pumpkin goby. It's like purple flash green pumpkin with I think a little bit of gold flake, like very, very little. It's so good.
There's a few kind of like Payback and Reaction Innovations. There's, I forget who does. It's a Bama something, which is like a June bug green pumpkin, but it's usually like a June bug that companies do, like which I love. I love a June bug green pumpkin. But Googan, I mean, I think they really nailed that like purplish. I'll bring it up here. I'm getting my tabs all mixed up. Sorry. I'll bring it up real quick just to show.
This is when Debo accidentally closes out of it, and it's just me and you.
It'll be you two. You guys can keep it running. Yeah, I'll usually close out of it, and then I come back on. Randy's like, well, I hope he's. I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm back. It's my first time running this. Yeah.
Debo, sorry guys, Debo had to go wrestle Stubby away from the pillow pile. And,
romancing the pillows over there. So real quick, I'll say hashtag Hawks if you guys want. We've got 250 people in here. We only have 99 entries. What the hell are y'all doing?
Hey.
This is free tackle. A
like
box.
Free stuff?
Yeah, a box handpicked by probably I would say top 1,000 most handsome YouTube fishermen out there. I would say I would say the solid 950. I'd
probably put you top 800.
I might, depending on your view. I might reach 800 marks.
You might be tied with somebody else, though, Debo.
Well, Burley is like the younger, more handsome, more muscular version of me. I'm like the older dad bod version of Burley. He's actually a little bit taller than me. I didn't realize he's that tall. I think he's like 6'3". I'm 6'1", 230. I think he's like 6'3". Yeah, I think he's 6'3", like 240. He's a big cat. He's strong.
Like 5'9", maybe and a half with a good pair of shoes on. Yeah,
it's really weird to think of, like, or not think of, but like when you find out, it doesn't matter here nor there, but like seeing these people in videos or like talking to you right now, I wouldn't have guessed whatever height you were, but
I put you like my height, 6 foot. I would have said like 6 foot.
If only.
Yeah, I would have said somewhere right around there.
Yeah, we had Punch on. Punch was like 6'4". Punch fishing.
Yeah, I did not.
I couldn't believe that.
I did not see that. Even sitting here talking to him, it's like kind of hard to judge. And I was watching something the other day on YouTube, and it was like a meme review or something like that. And somebody was like, "Oh, you think 6'8" would be awesome or 6'9" would be awesome?" And then it's like, reminder: all doorways are 6'8". You know,
right?
And it's like, God,
not as fun as it sounds,
right?
Yeah, that's like basketball. Like, I'm huge into NBA, college basketball and stuff. Like, you look at some of those dudes. Like, I think Shaq has like a size 23, like something stupid. Yeah. Like, dude, could you imagine having to, like, I wear size like 12 or 13 depending on the brand, and like I think that's very common because it's hard to find. Like, there'll be ones where I'm like, oh, this is cool. And, like, they always have 11s. Like, there's always 11s.
Yeah.
And like, I couldn't imagine, why is this not? But I couldn't imagine having like something like that. Yeah, or like finding clothes and stuff being that tall.
Yeah, there used to be a guy that played basketball for UNC Asheville, I think, when I was younger. And his name was Kenny George. He was 7'7" and wore a size 28 shoe.
Jesus,
dude. It was like back in the day. There were pictures of him standing next to Tyler Hansborough, and Tyler Hansborough was huge. And he made Tyler Hansborough look like a little leaguer. He was just giant.
And the thing that a lot of people don't think about is like, oh yeah, I can dunk, I can do this and play basketball and the whole nine. But then it's like, okay, once that's done, you still have to live your life. And
the human body was not meant to be 7'7". Like, your limbs, your joints, Yeah,
Am I still on?
that's solid.
Stare. Oh, okay, there we go. Yep. Yeah, dude, that color's money.
Yeah,
Love it.
I'm a sucker for two-tone colors in general.
So am I, to be honest. I would rather carry one package of two-tone colors than carry like 3 or 4 solids. Like
anything that's swimming, like a rage swimmer or something. Those ones that are like half green pumpkin and half pearl in the water. The kick on that just looks so much better than a single color.
Okeechobee craw.
Yeah.
My favorite. It's my favorite color. I don't know why. It's just again, it's a confidence thing that Okeechobee for my soft plastics or my trailers for my jigs anyway. I'm like Okeechobee craw all day long.
What's your favorite soft plastic of all time?
For a jig trailer or just in general?
I love it, dude. I love these kind of things.
In general, soft plastic.
Holy. I know Debo what he's going to say, but I would probably have to say it's going to be a Rage. They have the Rage Punch Bug.
Yeah.
That I've really gotten. I found a couple packages. I don't remember where I bought them, but I remember I bought quite a few of those. They are, as of recently, my go-to 100%, my favorite, either jig trailer or free rig lure. Before that, I would have to say it was what were they? The Chigger Craws. Not the crazy leg Chigger Craws, but the original Chigger Craws. Those were amazing.
If you like Rage Punch Bugs, have you seen the new Rage lure they're coming out with this year? It's the Scound Bug.
I've not.
Search Rage Scound Bug. SCOUNBUG. It's like a combination of a punch bug and a rage craw. It's slim.
They look sweet.
Yeah, it's slim like a punch bug, but it's the profile of kind of a craw, except real small little craw.
In a longer craw, like an elongated craw instead of a wide.
It's slick. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one.
You'll like that. What about you, Debo?
Debo, real quick before you answer, did you see you had a donation?
I did. I was scrolling through them and all the Hawks things. So we've got 250 people in here, only 126 entries. Let's at least get that to 140. There's got to be 14 people here that want to enter. Eric, holy smokes, Eric D with a 20 bomb on me. Thank you, brother. Great live. Preferred Chatterbait trailer, craw/beaver style or swim bait /paddle. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I was trying to think of my favorite. Andrew, I know you're in the same fan club as me. For the longest time, I would say the Havoc Pit Boss was up there as like a top 2. Dude, you've got one right there. Holy smokes. Y'all can't see him, but oh, whoops, I removed you. I was gonna make you big. Sorry. Look at it. Oh, he shaves. He loves him so much.
Look how old this is. Look at like the
yeah.
Oh,
that was in the Gander Mountain going out of business thing that you grabbed at.
They're in Ollie's now is where you can find them because we
don't have any Ollies around here. People always talk about that, and we have no Ollies anywhere around or academies. So
I love them.
So I was gonna say that, or like I was trying to think utility, either like a skinny dipper or a little dipper from Reaction Innovations. Yeah, for sure is my favorite paddle tail. And so I guess going back on this real quick, I will say, Eric, that a lot of people will tell you you're wrong if you use a paddle tail on a chatterbait. I don't know how many people I've had comment on my videos and like just in general. I'll tell you those people are wrong. Paddle tails, as long as the paddle tail's not too big and it doesn't work against the chatterbait, work awesome. They look like a bait fish. And I'll argue that till I'm blue in the face.
But you can also flip it upside down if it is working a little bit. There's that fine line.
Yeah, people have talked about that. I think it was like that was a tactical bassin thing they were talking about. I've honestly never done that. I've never ran it upside down. Like if you have problems with it rising, like if it's too big of a bait and it tends to rise, I just go heavier. Like I've been fishing a half ounce the past couple years, kind of as my go-to instead of a 3/8. So
yeah.
But I would say I honestly don't really do like a craw/beaver style bait. I would say going to a do nothing, like a fluke, or now there's so many of them out there that are really cool. Who is it? Big Bite Baits just came out with that. If you looked at my Instagram post today, the what do they call it? The Kamikaze Swim On V-tail or twin tail, which is like those old Zoom like twin tail trailers, something like that doesn't do anything. That way the trailer is getting all the action from the chatterbait and it doesn't have its own, primary action. So I would say, honestly, usually a paddle tail or something like that, like a fluke type straight tail, like the 6th Sense Trace, like that. That's a good one to show real quick. Two more people. We need
Debo,
2 more people. #Hawks. Then we'll do giveaway.
That trailer on your Instagram post literally looks like what used to come in the Chatterbait packages. You remember back when Chatterbait first came out, they came with the plastic?
Very similar.
The tails aren't
the
quite
body
as
of
long.
It, the body of it's bigger and like a swim bait. So it's not like the little tiny, like silly body. Like it's an actual swim bait body, but it's just got 2 like old school, like I've shown these before.
Longer legs.
Yeah, like the old Bait Man and I were talking about these. So there was 2 baits back in the day. Are you a fan of Baxter? You like Bait Man?
Oh, I love Kev. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's a super nice dude and a fellow bait nerd. But these are old school, like 90s or 80s or whatever. The old ones, or one of the old auger tails from Mans.
Yeah.
Like these are what you were throwing on spinner baits back in the day. But something like this that is bigger and beefier, and this was the body, like tiny. So imagine like a big swim bait body on that with larger, thicker tails.
You need to throw both those on a buzzbait too, by the way.
I've honestly never been a buzzbait wormer.
Ooh.
I was a naked buzzbait guy for a long time, and then that kind of became famous.
You don't throw it a whole lot more, or recently anyway. But the Menace, the Rage Menace.
Oh, yep, that was definitely one that I threw a lot. Yep, vertical.
Vertical.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Andrew? What are yours? What's for a chatterbait? What's your go-to?
So I'm in your camp too. Like a lot of the times I do throw a paddle tail on it. And I'll
argue it.
Yeah, it looks great. The thing that I do though is like I hate paying for like Kitex. I hate paying for that kind of stuff. So they're called Eco Pro Swing Shads. They're like $3.79. They look exactly like a Fat Impact.
They on Tackle Warehouse?
I'm sure they are. If you just search like I think Eco Pro's 2 words.
Am I sharing maybe. Or no?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Eco Pro Swing Shad.
Running kind of slow, so is it Eco
Hey,
Pro
what Debo's looking it up? I do have a.
Keep going.
Sorry.
Got to be on there. Yeah.
I do have a question for you.
I never heard of these.
Do you kind of going back to your spinnerbait for fall? Do you use a stinger hook or do you put a plastic trailer on? Or I've tried to do both at the same time. It never works out well. So
yeah. So any other time other than fall, I have a stinger hook on it. In the fall, I don't have a stinger hook on it. I put a plastic on the back of it because in the fall they're freaking.
You put a trailer on. Okay.
Smoking that thing. Yeah, I trust them to eat it versus swipe.
Not short strike. Yeah.
Right. And so what I'll do a lot of times, I'll put a 4-inch curly tail grub on the back. I think a lot of times that looks better than a big shad. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, dude, a big curly tail or that was a big spinnerbait trailer back in the day. We've got 142. So.
But yeah, those are when you look at them and you put them side by side, they are a Kayak Fat Impact, except these are $3.79 or whatever, and a Kayak pack is $6.
Yeah, $3.49.
$3.49. That's silly.
Yeah, because I would say I use a Rage Swimmer probably quite a bit.
These pictures are bad too.
Wherever, so.
When you get them in the package, you can't tell the difference almost between them and a Rage Swimmer.
There's some good colors.
Yeah, they're durable. Okay. They do what you need them to do. But if I'm looking for something like you were talking about, where I want the chatterbait to be doing a lot of the work, and I just want the trailer there almost for like bulk and profile and a little bit of where it's going to go in the water column, I like some sort of Zaco style trailer.
That's another good,
Derek over at Beast Coast has something called the Blade Runner that he makes that I really like.
So I was going to show just as an example, I just got a pack of these. Why is my internet running so slow tonight? I just got a pack of these. Yeah, the Zaco or Zaco, however you say it. There's another one that I used to throw on there. God, I can't think of it. The Lake Fork Magic Shad or Live Shad or whatever.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of, I've got one right here. This is just the pintail version of it, but again, same thing. It's segmented like a Zacho, but instead of having the tail, it's just a little like tickler deal.
Yep.
So yeah, something where it's not working against the chatterbait, it's doing work. But real quick, I'll show you because I just got a minute. Gramps has been talking about them. Of course, all the 6th Sense guys shared them, and you saw it all over Instagram. But I want to get some, and actually, they are pretty neat in person. It's the 6th Sense. I think they call it the Trace, which is their new. Or is it Juggle Minnow?
Trace is the Trace a swim bait, like a hard swim bait?
I don't know. Maybe I was thinking it was
Maybe?
a Trace. It's the Juggle Minnow. So sorry, I don't get my 6th Sense things mixed up. Yeah, 4 inches. You get 9 to pack, and these actually are pretty cool. So they've got the little fork tail on the back, but unlike that's my only gripe against a fluke. If you don't go full size fluke, I'll usually bite like a 1/2 inch or 1 inch off. It's getting into that cavity where it's split at the belly for the hook. So they don't last that long. But with this is a full solid body. You rig it on, and so it's got the benefit of the fluke, but with that, solid swim bait body up front. So kind of cool. I think I only grabbed 2 colors. I don't even remember what they were, but
it's a sneaky option if you like something like this. I'm sure you've probably thrown them if you like something like this. A Jerky J.
Dude, I actually haven't. I haven't got into a bunch of theirs because that's Castaic, right?
Yeah, that's like an old school kind of like throw on a scrounger head type deal. They're sick.
Yeah, like a lot of those scrounger, like I just got into like the Spunk Shad and like some of those that I'd never tried before, and I like them, but it's always to me been Randy loves the Spunk Shad. He loves the name.
But I've
always just been a fluke. Yeah, I'll have to check those out. Somebody else, I think it was Fishing the Lone Star actually had one. I think I messaged him. They look pretty sweet. We'll look that up here real quick. I'll do a giveaway in case you're hanging on. I can't believe we're at 1 hour 36. I'm sorry. We're going over and we're going into all sorts of tangents here. Okay.
Nobody's got a bedtime, Debo. You ain't going over nothing.
Well, I feel bad when I say we're going to do it at a certain time, then I just go off and start talking, and people, I guess, should be used to it by now. Okay, and I see we got a couple other donations I want to make sure we hit. Okay, so I am sharing. All right, here we go. We're at 140. I said I wanted to get to. Random box of goodies. I will write it on the whiteboard here, sponsored by Randizzle himself. Actually, this has been a huge. Oh my gosh, critical gravy! You finally won, brother. So my favorite breakfast in the whole wide world is biscuits and gravy.
Oh,
critical gravy. He usually has, same dude. I feel I feel like we're cut from the same stone here.
Dude, biscuits and gravy. It's one of the only things I make like better than I feel like anybody that I know. It's so easy to make, but it's a consistency thing.
Dude, you nailed it. Like they're so easy to make, and like most of the spots that you get at, they're not good. Hardee's actually has a pretty good like fast food biscuits and gravy. Usually most places you get it from, they're like, you can make it at home way better. Yeah. That I did want to hit on real quick too. Ty Carbide said, have you gotten Dark Horse Tackle Box yet? Use code TackleTalk10. So Andrew does work with a number of different companies, and Andrew, I'll let you talk about those. Anybody that you like. Obviously we talked to Fishing with Gramps a ton, and Andrew works with American Legacy. So I did put his link below. I'm a huge advocate of American Legacy's used section. I've got a ton of stuff from them on sales, plus using the code to get extra off. I've got probably, I don't know, my last 6 reels I think are from American Legacy used, quote unquote used, but they look like nobody's ever even touched them. So
that's the best part,
use Andrew's code TackleTalk10 over there if you're going to order. Share the love between him and Gramps. I want to support all those guys that we can. Give a little kickback to them, and make sure Critical, I'm sure he's still here real quick. Critical, are you here, my friend? Did he ever say anything? You do have to be present to win.
I hadn't seen. I was scrolling through. And
oh my God! Don't tell me he's not actually here.
Oh,
he's always saying, "Man, one of these days I'll win."
Oh no! Oh, there he is. I see him.
Is he?
I'm here. He just typed it.
I'm here. All right, Critical, hit me up. You can email me at debosfishing@gmail.com if you want. Just please send me a screenshot of your YouTube so I know it's you, because we have had imposters trying to get free stuff from Debo. We don't like that around here. So just send me a screenshot of your YouTube and your address, and I will get you a giveaway package, my friend. Congrats. And he usually asks the question, we like to do this or that, Andrew. I think you'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
He usually asks gravy and biscuits or biscuits and gravy. So
biscuits and
I
gravy.
say yes. Yeah. Yes to both. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, do you guys have Casey's gas stations out there?
We do, actually. We're getting more of them. We didn't used to have hardly any, and now they're starting to come into Ohio. Or at least
that's the big gas station here anyway. And Debo, like every time we go fishing in the morning, I usually stop at a Casey's and I'll grab like a breakfast sandwich or a slice of pizza or something and like 16 Red Bulls because Debo wants to be at the lake 27 hours before the sun's up.
Yep.
And every single time
I also tell you like 27 hours before the sun's up. That way you actually get there on time.
I have some friends like that too.
I think you've been late the last couple of times there, bub. Just saying.
It's because you slept in the parking lot the last time.
So I always see like a biscuits and gravy in the warmer, and I'm like, I should get that for Debo. And I never do, and he always shows up like kicking rocks, eating a granola bar and stuff. And I'm like, dude, I could have got you a biscuits and gravy.
Wish I had some biscuits and gravy.
There used to be a gas station around here that would do like the sandwiches that have been sitting there for 5 days under the warmer. But one of them used to be for $1. It was a biscuit, and then when you bit inside of the biscuit, it was filled with sausage gravy. Like it was inside.
Shut up.
So it was handheld sausage biscuits and gravy. Just
dude, you say that, and there was actually a little shop. We used to go to Minneapolis. Our friends lived up there, and there was like this empanada food truck. And they did like all the regular stuff. If you don't know an empanada, it's like a small calzone, but it's like I think it's like Guatemala or Ecuador, like South Central America.
Super easy to make, also FYI.
Delicious, but it's like something food in a pocket, like a carbohydrate pocket. Yeah, exactly, like a hot pocket. And they would do like the typical. I forget, there was like spinach or whatever, but they had one to cater to us stupid Midwesterners that was biscuits and gravy. That was like an empanada with gravy sausage in it. Dude. Oh my gosh. Anyway.
Somebody make that. Yeah. Why can't I find that at Walmart? Like, give me a sausage gravy stuffed biscuit I could put in the microwave for 60 seconds and eat every day. Invest.
Okay, David, Mr. David, thank you for the $10 bomb. Y'all are being generous tonight. I appreciate that a lot. Speaking of, ever tried this spunk shad as a trailer? Results. I have tried it. It looks really good, similar to that fluke look, but it does have that larger, like we were just looking at the Kayak type swim bait body that lasts a lot longer on there. I haven't caught a fish on it yet. The day I threw it, I didn't get any bites on a chatterbait, and I'm not saying that's the spunk shad's fault. It just wasn't a chatterbait day. But that's being honest, the only day I threw it, but it looked damn good. I mean, it's take your pick of a straight tail type trailer. If you like their colors and stuff, yeah, it looked good.
You know what a spunk shad is sneaky on too? And this is something I think a lot of the northern guys probably know, but on a bare football head.
Really?
Yeah.
Like a jig, or are you talking like a naked head with just a football, like to look like a minnow?
Yeah, like a naked head. Like this is something my buddies like up on northern Great Lakes and stuff do, is they'll take like a little, if it's a 1/4 ounce or little 3/8 ounce or something, football head jig with no skirt, no, wire keeper, nothing like that. Just a football head with an exposed hook, almost like a Ned rig with a football head, and they'll put like little tiny Kayaks and little spunk shads and stuff on them, and they'll drag them around.
I could see that going good on like a wobble head, the football wobble heads that have the floaty hook on there. Interesting.
Yeah, I'll throw like a naked chatter. That was kind of my secret around here for a while, and that kind of got to be not a secret. Especially for pike, man. Pike will crush a naked chatter. I'm just talking about a chatterbait. You pull the skirt off and just put like a swim bait trail on it. So it's just a blade and a swim bait. That's it. No skirt.
You know what's funny? The very first time I ever fished a chatterbait, this was back like before I really knew much. I went out and I didn't realize you were supposed to put anything on the back of the hook. Like this is way back. And I went out, I probably caught 10 fish on a chatterbait with no trailer before I realized that you're supposed to put plastic on the back.
Dude, it's funny that you say that, because I have people ask me all the time, like, hey, I just got into jigs. Does it really matter if you put a trailer on? And of course, fishing as long as I'm like, oh, of course you put a trailer on, peon.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I actually had a really good night fishing with nothing on it. I'm like,
yeah,
man, like it makes you double think.
Yeah.
Does a lot of this stuff really matter? And I think a lot of it comes to placement. Like we've talked about it before.
Oh yeah.
I think you could throw a 10-inch worm in Tequila Sunrise. You could throw a beaver bait. You could throw a trench hog. You could throw, I don't care what it is. If you throw it in the crotch of that tree and there's a fish there, 9.9 times out of 10, it's going to eat it, And then,
Debo, did you answer your favorite plastics question from earlier?
I think kind of in a roundabout, like the Pit Boss is for sure one. I don't know.
I
dude,
thought
I've
you were
got a
going to say
bunch.
Tequila Sunrise. That's lame anyway.
That's definitely one up there. A Berkeley power bait, 8-inch Tequila Sunrise power worm. Yep.
Sorry.
I don't know. Yeah, my brain goes all sorts of places when I can only pick one. But
Fishing the Southeast had a this or that at 9:44. You should probably take a look at when you get a second here.
okay, I will get to that. So Ryan, another donation. Thank you for the $5 bomb, Ryan. Thanks for all the great content over the years. Thank you, dude, for sticking with me. I started fishing in the beginning of the pandemic, and I've learned almost everything I know from you. Well, I'm sorry, dude. You could be catching much bigger, a lot more fish if you watch other channels. But again, top 800 in YouTube looks, and I'm guessing that's why you keep coming back. I'm easy on the eyes. That's a joke, of course. I'm not, but
it's me. It's me, Debo. Come on.
it's Randy. What did they say? It's like when the funniest thing I ever read was, it's like when you're a kid and you think so and so, the main character, is the real hero of the show. It's like, and then you're 32 years old and you grow up and learn that so and so is actually the hero of the show and the main character didn't matter. That's Randy. Yeah. Randy's the wheel that keeps this thing going. Yep.
The oil that greases the what? Hello?
Wait, what?
Huh?
Yeah, that's members only. You have to pay to get into that.
Oh,
okay, so anyway, Ryan, thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man, for the support. Yeah, dude, there's been a number of times I've almost been ready to be done 100% with YouTube and everything, but it's stuff like that. Andrew, like you said, how many comments do you get that you've helped me? Thank you for the content. I grew up fishing with my dad and my grandpa, and I've learned, most of the stuff from them growing up. And it's crazy to think about the number of people that don't have a dad or a grandpa or anybody to teach them,
Mm-hmm.
So we really can be an influence. And, we're not pros. We're not on tour. We just love to fish.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I threaten to slap your face, Debo, and you kind of get back at it. And, because honestly, there's a lot of people that, I've told you recently, Debo, like there's been a bunch of people that have just in the wild have just come up to me and started talking to me and said, hey, watch the lives, or I watched Debo's videos, and you guys have, totally helped me out, or on Instagram or things like that. And dude, you do a phenomenal job of like really being able to teach in a manner that hits all aspects of how people learn, either visual, audio, like seeing it, whatever. Like you do a great job of doing that. I'm not trying to toot your horn, but yeah.
Try to keep it fun and learn. That's if you're not having fun and learning fishing, then there's no point in doing it.
Isn't it funny though that people are listening to us and it's like, I'm not even in the top like 50 anglers that I know.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm even in the state of Iowa. I'm not even in the top 500. I guarantee. Like
you probably get this a lot too. I get what I like call like imposter syndrome sometimes, where I'll like fire up my Instagram and there's like a bunch of messages on there and people asking like, "What should I do? I'm going to North Dakota next week and there's a lake that's up there and I'm gonna hit it. What should I do?" I'm like, dude. I mean, I'll definitely try, but I want to be transparent and say I'm probably like number 1,284 on the list of people you should probably ask this question to, but I'll try and help you till the cows come home, till I'm blue in the face. But dude, I don't think I'm as good as you think I am.
Yep. Yeah. I usually start to ask the questions. What type of water is it like? What are the conditions? What's the water temp? And I'm like, this is what I do around here. But yeah, for me, it's like Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois. That's all that I've ever fished. I've honestly never fished outside of those. I've never been to Texas, Florida. Like I've been to there, but I've never fished those, so it's like, I'm a Midwest fisherman.
That's what and like you said, you get those questions. And it's like, I don't want it to seem like a cop out, but you're like, there's a billion variables that are going to affect how I answer your question. It's like, if you can't just say, hey, what's the best bait in Nebraska this time of year? It's like, I don't know. Like, are you fishing rivers?
Dude.
You fishing creeks? You fishing lakes? What's the water temp? What's the weather? What's the wind direction?
But I think
there's no rivers out here in Nebraska, and
okay.
I don't know either. And I've been fishing out here for like the last month. I have no idea what they're biting on.
Yeah.
But dude, I think you nailed it on the head. I think that the simple fact that we reply to people is the big thing. Now, I'll admit I am way behind. I don't know the last time I've gone through a YouTube video and replied to everybody. The comments are out of control. I can't keep up anymore. But if you ever have a question, certainly private message me on Instagram. I try to keep up with those as best I can. But I think the big thing is, and this is what I get all the time, is I've reached out to blank, blank, and blank. You're the only YouTuber I've ever messaged that's ever replied to me.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
yeah, guys. And
that's why people will become a fan of yours and why people will listen. Same thing. I've never, every single Instagram message, every single email, everything I've ever got, I've replied to. It's because if you're going to take the time out of your day to type up that paragraph and ask me the question, I can take the time out of my day to respond to you no matter how busy I am. You took the time to do it. I will reciprocate that. I promise you that.
And I got to say, I'm not the best at responding either, but if you guys want,
you're horrible at it. You're actually horrible.
Listen,
you've got to be, we were just talking about, we were talking about top 500 in the state. You have to be bottom 500 in population of the world.
So if DEBO'S not responding, just reach out to me. I'll give you his phone number and address, and you can, reach out to him directly that way.
You can say that all you want. I know I'm safe because you're not going to respond. I actually have people reaching out to me to say, hey, have Randy check his stuff. I've messaged him like the last 2 weeks and he doesn't respond. I'm like, bro, if you figure that out, I'm like, I've messaged him in the last 2 weeks and he won't respond. So, good luck.
Dude, I get on what is it, like a streak, or like I go on spurts and I'm just like, oh, I'm on it, I'm doing it. And then life happens and something comes up and then I'm like, oh shit, I forgot. Let me go back and check all this stuff. And I think I actually just pulled it up recently and there's like, you have 16 pending requests and 48 unread
572 messages.
I'm like, log out. That never happened.
Oh, Randy. All right, let's get moving. We're at an hour. I'm going to keep you for 2 hours if you're okay with that. 9 more minutes.
As long as
we're
you
getting
want.
out of here.
Hey, this or that, Debo. Hit that this or that before we're done.
Okay, let's see. Real quick, so I was going to switch over. So Critical Gravy we got. Congrats. Okay, RLDD Rob got my member stream giveaway and custom lures in the mail the same day. Early Christmas. Thank you, Debo Claus. Rob, thank you, brother. I appreciate you a ton supporting my lures and watching and joining the members giveaway. My pleasure. Thanks. I try to give back when I can. So I appreciate you all that continue to watch me and support. Let me see here real quick. He said it was at 9:44.
Yeah.
Let's see. It was fish in the southeast.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So this or that.
Okay. Well, I'm looking for Andrew. Do you have any questions? Randy, do you have any what do you guys want to know? What do you guys have? We went into any side comments? There it is. I found it. Okay, we'll answer this one. This or that. Catch no fish for 10 trips with Dizzle. Dizzle catches a 10-pounder every time, or Dizzle pushes you in the water 5 times randomly in 1 year and you get 1 10-pounder. Oh my God.
I mean, what's your answer, man? Here we go. I can only guarantee part of that. The pushing you in the water 5 times. If you choose that option, I can guarantee that part.
Yeah, I feel like one of these days it's going to happen anyway. So I'll take the Dizzle randomly pushes me in 5 times and I catch a 10-pounder. Because I'm never catching a 10-pounder around here. It'll have to be a Texas trip or something. There's 10-pounders don't exist.
Where they grow on trees,
Yeah. Private farm ponds. That's the only place you can find around here. Oh, I caught a 10-pounder. Oh, really? What lake was it? Oh, it was so-and-so's grandpa's farm pond. I'm like.
So you caught a pet.
Like this, yeah. Yeah.
Let me fish.
That's like a few ounces under the state record, isn't it? Haven't we looked this up a dozen times?
Like 8 ounces, I think. Yeah, it's not big at all. The state record. So,
jeez.
12 ounces, 10, 12 maybe.
Yeah, I would do way more disgusting things than let someone push me in the water 5 times for a 10-pounder. Like unspeakable things.
Oh my. Okay, moving on quickly. Debo, my favorite swim jig trailer is that Reaction Innovation Skinny Dipper. Yeah, man, I feel like people, actually Baxter and I were just talking about this. They're one of the companies that kind of flies under the radar. Not a lot of people talk about them. They make some really good stuff. So let's see. What do you guys have? Do you guys have any questions? 6 minutes. Andrew, Dizzle, I feel like I've been talking a lot. I'm sorry. What,
I mean,
what do you guys got?
I think you've kind of covered it. Yeah, or we've covered it, you know, with somebody whenever we talk to somebody new, it's, you know, what's your PB, your go-to, or right-handed, or excuse me, a left-handed retrieve or incorrect handed retrieve on your bait casters.
I guess I'm incorrect. I am the guy. I'm the guy that will cast right-handed, switch to my left hand, and start reeling with my right hand. That's
yep. That's how we learn.
Just because Debo is right-handed and he's got all these fancy combos, I've started to get more into casting right-handed. And, you know, me being a left-hand retrieve in my right mind, thinking like, oh, this is how I've used a spinning rod my entire life. I'm just going to keep doing it that way. It was very difficult in the beginning for me to find reels, and that's one of the reasons why I came across the Revo winch to begin with. But I've slowly started to get over to the right hand. It's just the hook sets don't make sense to me with my left hand. I'm just like, I don't know how to do it, you know?
That's how I feel with my right hand. Yeah. I do the same thing. My spinning reels are the same way. I reel with my right hand on my spinning reel too.
Yeah.
Oh, really? See, you're in the minority there.
That's
because
very
most
rare,
people that learn to cast and retrieve, because I reel with my left. I actually use both. I use both left and right handed bait casters. But learning, it was cast and then reel with my right hand for a bait caster, and then cast and reel with my left hand for a spinning reel, which is most people, you know.
Yeah. The only thing I reel left-handed is when I'm ice fishing. That's the only time I reel left-handed.
Same, yeah. It's weird, man. Let's see. So I asked questions on what do you guys want to hear from, and I can't figure out how to get into a story that's already gone.
You should be able to go to archives.
Yep, and I know it's in like here real quick. Insights. Let's see, where is it?
All right. While you're finding it, what's your two secret weapon lure? Like if you had to be like an under the radar lure that you throw a lot that not a lot of other people are throwing.
I'm gonna say a free rig.
Yeah, I mean that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean it's just
there's not a lot of people around here throwing a free rig.
Do you mean like an unpegged Texas rig, Randy, but with a different shaped weight? I think is what you're saying.
If it's a different seek, oh my god!
Like you ran out of bullet weights and you started using drop shot weight.
So you bent out a drop shot weight and put it on.
Okay? So I do have to say you can't use a drop shot weight because those pinch on your line.
That's true.
You go to set the hook.
Tried that.
Your line will snap exactly where that
bending
hook
them
is.
out. Yeah. So.
Ooh, that'll piss you off really bad.
Let's see. I would say either a wacky rig, which funny enough, like last year, the wacky rig just caught, like I could have went anywhere and caught a fish on a wacky rig and would have bet you my wallet. This year, I think I've caught maybe 3 fish on a wacky rig. It's weird how it goes in cycles, but like an EWG Ned rig has been a game changer for me as a bank angler.
Yeah.
Why aren't there more companies that do an EWG Ned head?
Oh, they're
starting to be. Yeah,
they just make so. Like I went to my local bait shop back in Iowa, and I'm like, "Hey, do you guys have any EWG net heads?" And they're like, "Do what?" Yeah, like a EWG, so you could rig a net head weedless. And they're like, "They don't make those." And I was like, "Cool, but I'll go out and show you some that I have right now. They make them. They're just like, I've never even." And they pulled out their catalog book and they're flipping through it, and they're like, "We can't order any." So.
What's funny is like they used to make those for people who were basically like Texas rigs on training wheels, where they used to make EWG hooks that had the pointed nose already on top. And we've come full circle now, and now they're like the cool thing to come back to. And that's the thing. It's like if you're throwing an EWG hook with a Ned head on it, that's not a Ned rig, which is fine. We call it a Ned rig, but it's like
I might even have some of those.
We need another name.
It's a shaky head.
It's not a Ned rig. Yeah.
Dude, I was actually just thinking, God dang, dude, you're in my head. I was just thinking about this on the way home of like, this would actually be a cool video of where do you differentiate like all these different rigs as they start to tie together from,
Right.
oh, that's not the right one.
Yeah, I
Shaky
saw
head
somebody
to-
throwing they were selling a unskirted football head and they were calling it a Ned. I was like, it's a
That's
football
not-
head.
no.
Like, it's not a Ned. It's not a
Yeah,
Ned rig. They're
that's
calling it
just
like
a
a
football
Ned
head.
football. Like just because it doesn't have a skirt on it does not mean it's a Ned rig.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Like I think more so when it comes to like a sleeper lure, you just need to look back in the cycle of
Yeah.
lures and see what has come and gone. I know Debo and
Dude,
I had
that's what we
talked
talk
about
about.
specifically
I've never put
spinnerbait
the
or
spinnerbait down, and it's like spinnerbait was gone when the chatterbait hit the scene.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
was throwing a spinnerbait.
100%.
You know?
Like chatterbait, I caught probably more bigger fish on a chatterbait, and then all of a sudden it just kind of went away because everybody else started using it. Maybe I don't no idea. And then I put them away. I had compartments full of chatterbaits and things, and then recently within the last 5-6 years, maybe something like that, they've come back again, and it's all just kind of cyclical. It's whatever if you're trying to decide what kind of lure to throw, just kind of go back
Look
in your
back 20
memory.
years.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, mine's like I love throwing grubs on all kinds
Yeah,
of stuff. Like
yeah.
literally, I mean, and you've heard it like 3 times tonight.
That's
I throw
another
grubs
one.
on everything. It's such a fish catching machine, underrated. Like the thing that I throw around here that I call, it's like what I've been throwing since I was little, and it's just this redneck convention. It's the buzz grub, and it's like a 3-inch skirtless. But well, I probably got one here somewhere.
Yeah, because didn't
like
you work with somebody?
that.
I was going to actually ask you
Dude.
about that. You worked with.
That's
I
the
don't remember
sauce.
the name of the guy. I'm sorry, but
Yeah, that's the sauce around here. Like that is a
Really?
3-inch mini micro buzzbait, like finesse with like heavy gauge wire that we made with the guy's name's Cody. He owns a company called Jig Masters. And I went to him and I was like, can you, because I was using a Strike King mini buzz, and you catch one fish on it and it's broken and the head sucks and it has a skirt on it that you have to rip off. So I was like, can you make me a 3-inch buzz bait with like musky sized wire on it, but with a finesse blade, and can you put a screw lock on it with no skirt collar? And he's like, I mean, I can try. And so we spent probably like 6 months making this thing, and this thing is just like, it's so money. It's got a little like a razor sharp. We tested a bunch of different hooks on it, and it's actually we ended up with, and I'm a mustad guy, and we ended up with a VMC in here, like a black nickel VMC. It's sharp as heck. And then there's I can probably take it off here, show you a screw lock. I know it's not going to focus because I'm using my camera, but so like unscrewing it, then when you take it off, I don't know if you can see that. There's maybe I probably got to back up. Yeah,
we can see it. So it's like I show people this a lot. I've got a couple buzz baits for like buzz toads that have that.
Yeah.
Just
And I was like, can you make it? And so he made one version of it, and we tested. I was like, it's got to be smaller. He's like, all right. And so we went through like 3 or 4 versions. I was like, no, man, I need this thing to be like 3 inches or under and weigh like 3/16 ounces. And he's like, we finally got it. It's a killer.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Where can people find that? Is it at his?
If you just go to jigmasters.com, it's right on the homepage. But if you look under like, I think there's a page where you can look, like it's probably got my name on it or something that you can click on, but I think it's right on the homepage. It's called jigmasters.com, and it's right there. They're sweet.
Let's look real quick. I did see that you came out with that. And, oh, look at, dang, front and center. Front and center.
I don't know, Andrew, if you've seen it or not, but Hellabass wants to know what's your go-to hairstyling products.
Are you a Dapper Dan guy?
Hey, thanks, Rich. I'm I don't know what it's Savacito or something like that. I don't know. It's something that I order off the internet and it comes here.
Say Dapper Dan.
Yeah, Dapper Dan.
I'm a Dapper Dan. I'm a
Dapper Dan, man.
Yeah, this is
I really wish
sweet.
I could
like
do that move that he does with that little comb and the lid, flips it onto the.
Yeah, I've never heard of. I didn't hear about him until. See, this is the other cool thing about the fishing stuff is like, I hadn't heard of you until since I'm not a podcast guy, unfortunately.
Right.
I hadn't heard of you until Gramps. Then I listened to your stuff, and just like the different people you get to come in contact with, and the different ways of fishing, and I think it's cool.
Yeah,
that thing's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
I'll have to put it in order to get some of those. Buzzbait season's gonna be.
Debo, I know we've you've tried before. What's it? The stupid rig? Is that what it is? A
stupid tube?
Like a stupid tube?
Yeah, stupid tube.
Yeah.
I kind of want to get back to just throwing a tube. A tube has always been like a smally just dominator around here anyway. And like, I don't remember last time I threw a tube. I know I continue to see them when I'm like semi, resorting lures, over the winter and stuff like that. I'm like, 5 packages of tubes that I haven't touched in 17 years, but I think that's kind of one thing I want to try at least to use again. So that kind of leads into a question for you. Is there a lure or a technique or a style or something like that you used to use that you've gone away from that you kind of want to get back to, or something that is
a good way
new that you want to try? Like Debo always says, I want to do better at a drop shot. He never does. And at the beginning of every season, he's like, this is the year I'm drop shotting. And he never
I'd rather
does
have people stick pins in my eyes than have to drop shot.
Than drop shot? Yeah. We don't drop shot around here because our water's so dirty. Like, we don't throw drop shots.
Yeah, good. You're not missing out. Only stupid people drop shot. I'm kidding.
Something I used to use that I wish... what's... Okay. This is going to sound silly, but it's true. One of the most fish catching machines of all time that we just completely ignore is an inline spinner.
Yeah.
Good call, man.
Because we think of like a 12-year-old or a 9-year-old or something fishing it. We think we're like above it. We're too snooty to throw a Meps or a Panther Martin or a Rooster Tail or something like that, because it just seems like someone that doesn't know what they're doing. And there are certain situations where if I would just swallow my pride and throw a Meps or a something like that, I would have a much better day.
Yeah, dude, I completely agree. That's one, especially I was reading, so I get these like posts. You're actually really big into the pro fishing, like keeping up and updating people in the beginning of your podcast, which I don't like. We don't really do that around here. I watch like MLF or stuff if it's on, but I'm not like diehard pro fishing. Like, I like it, but one thing, I forget who it was, but I get emails of like the Bassmaster, like it'll be a recap of Lake you follow or whatever it was. It'll say like recap, and here's like their top lures. And there was one where I forget what it was, like 2 or 3 guys that had like either an inline spinner or a small, what was it? A small swim bait on something to like mimic like little tiny bait fish. But yeah, there was 2 guys that had an inline spinner on there, and it's like, man, you don't think of that as guys on tour, throwing a little inline spinner to mimic small bait fish. But it's, man, you nailed it. Like, you can go into a creek or a little pond and catch all kinds of stuff on an inline spinner. It's kind of like a grub on a jig head, man. You can catch anything on like a little grub and jig head. And that was one of my confidence baits forever.
I think my biggest pike I've caught have come with a Panther Martin or a Meps. I don't remember which one it was, but one of the bigger ones with a chartreuse, like fur skirt, whatever you want to call it, on there. Like, I dominated the pike up
like
in
a Meps, like a hair type.
Yep. Yeah, like at Spirit Lake with one of those. And I don't know the last time I've thrown. Well, actually, I do, Debo, when we went trout fishing that day, and I offered you a dial reel.
He threw his dial reel in the reeds and walked off and said, "I'm done for the day." Ooh. Was it a good day, huh? All right. Oh. Anyway, okay. So listen, we're already past 2 hours. I don't want to keep taking up everybody's night. I know there's football on. We got family to get to. But okay, Andrew, how can everybody find you? Because Roland just said this is a perfect way to end it. Just subbed to Tackle Talk. So where can everybody find you? What are your socials and all the things?
Yeah, so the show itself is primarily all audio. And so you can find it on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, Amazon, wherever you listen to podcasts, it's there somewhere. Just search Tackle Talk, it'll pop right up. If you want video, that's what like the picture will look like. It's me with like a fish with a jig in its mouth.
Jigs and Bigs too. Shout out to Bobby Roast Beef.
Hey, Bobby Roast Beef. So you can find him on all those
in the industry.
Yeah, he's like a morning show host. Like, you just want to listen to him talk all the time.
Yes.
And so then I'm trying to do more not like I'm not a YouTube guy. I know where my like strengths and weaknesses are, and my weakness is video. So I don't want to put out some crappy videos a lot, but I'm trying to do better, at least with like the guest episodes and videotaping those and then putting those on YouTube. So there's an archive of them, because podcasts kind of get lost in the shuffle after the next week. Where at least with this, it would archive them. So I've started to upload some of that. Like we just had Taku Ito on, so I uploaded that whole episode and, you know, some things like that. So I'm trying to go back in the archives and upload like Bill's episode and Iconelli and Clun and all those kind of people, just so they're up there. But mostly I'm on audio format.
That you said that. Yeah, there's like 250 or whatever, and like they start dropping off, or I don't know what the number was, but I thought that was weird. I figured they would save them like indefinitely, but
yeah. So it's like it's a couple hundred, and then they start to disappear. And it's like I don't want those to disappear.
Yeah,
at least
that's
the cool
strange
ones.
as hell.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start backlogging some of those on YouTube, but that's not really super important. It's all on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, wherever you listen.
Cool. Yep. And like I've said, I'm not a huge podcast guy. I've just started getting into it, but I appreciate your rundowns and just real life fishing. Like you're just one of us, and that's the biggest compliment that I get. Yeah, it's like, hey, I could see me, Debo, and Dizzle sitting around a campfire drinking beer talking about fishing. I'm like, that's the biggest compliment I could get, is that you would let me into your house, your yard, and we could talk fishing and, you know, have a brew or whatever. So, and
they do. Like, that's the crazy part, is they do let us into their car, into their house, into their whatever. It's the most mind-blowing thing when like you talked about, when you meet real people and they say like they listen or something. I'm just used to looking at numbers on a sheet, so it's not like real to me. And then you meet somebody out like Dizzle said, like in the wild, be like, oh yeah, the real people. This is super cool.
All right, well, folks.
Yeah.
In the wild.
Hey, Debo, real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick before we sign out, I just want to say, like, anybody in the East Coast that potentially may be dealing hurricane, tropical storm, whatever the hell it might be called at this point in time, just be safe. Hopefully everything works out good for you guys, and like I said, be safe.
Yeah, I haven't followed any of that. I've heard there's stuff going on, but I'm not a news guy, so hopefully everything goes safe out there. Yes. But listen, give Andrew a follow. Tackle Talk Podcast. Super nice guy. We appreciate y'all hanging out. We had almost 200 people in here for 2 hours, which is crazy, mind-blowing. So thank you all for joining. We'll be back again next Saturday. Appreciate y'all for watching, and until next time.